Thank you.
Oh, it was fun.
Yes, we finally got to meet your young lady.
And she won the raffle.
Yeah, did she? What you win?
Bottle of wine.
Bottle of wine?
That will not be wasted.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Last year I was able to. I'm on a diet. Can't have salt. So I can't eat in places like Patricia. Because last year I was able to get $100 gift. Plus I got 80 from Outback, which I eat.
Right.
Because I ordered a steak salad with don't salt the steak, don't season the steak. And then I eat it with oil and vinegar, so there's no salt in it. So they're generous every year, $80, $100. So we broke it up to $40. I guess you can go eat for $40. You have a nice lunch and so it worked out.
Mayor, how long do we have? I'm probably gonna need my charger. I'm expecting it's a long meeting.
Yeah, we got 1 minute or 2 minutes. You know, I was. One of the reasons it's one of the end journals. By the way, Bill, we'll fall asleep, just kidding.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to call to order the regular city commission meeting for September 9th, 2024 at 7 p.m. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Hudak, Commissioner Parnez,
Here.
Commissioner Preston,
Here.
Vice Mayor Drosky, Mayor Gantz.
Here. If we'd all please stand for a moment of silence and our pledge of allegiance. I ask all of us to keep in our thoughts and prayers Rhonda Quinn, a longtime City of Deerfield Beach employee who passed away recently. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If we could have approval of our city commission meeting minutes for our budget workshop minutes of June 12th, June 13th, and August 28th, 2024.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Acknowledgement of our city board meeting minutes for the non-uniform employees retirement fund meeting minutes for May 13th, 2024. Community Redevelopment Agency meeting minutes of June 11th, 2024. August 20th, 2024 as well. Code compliance meeting minutes for July 9th, 2024. Hillsborough Inlet District meeting minutes of July 15th, 2024, and Community Appearance Board meeting minutes for July 24th, 2024.
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Parnas, second by Commissioner Preston. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, approval of our agenda tonight for September 9th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Preston, seconded by Commissioner Parnas. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed? All right, Madam Clerk.
For those attending via Zoom online wishing to speak under public comment or in an item that's open for public input, please click raise hand at the bottom under the reactions tab and your audio will be unmuted when you're recognized by Mayor Gantz. For those attending via Zoom by telephone, please press *9 to raise your hand and your audio will be unmuted when you're recognized by Mayor Gantz. Please make sure your audio is unmuted on your end by pressing *6. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Drosky.
Yes, we just received on item number 25 for tonight, the results of the survey today.
Mhm.
So, and I did want to talk to some of the residents before making a decision on the fly. So I was hoping we could defer number 25 to the next meeting. If there's anyone here tonight, I didn't want them sitting around to the end, if that's possible.
You need a motion to postpone?
I would believe so. So I would make a motion to defer number 25 to the next meeting.
Second.
We have motion from Vice Mayor Drosky, second by Commissioner Parnas to defer item number 25 till the next meeting. Is that what we're looking for? Next meeting? Okay.
Yes.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, if you're here for item number 25, it's been moved to the next meeting that we're going to have. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you.
Our first item is a proclamation declaring September 2024 as Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. More than 50,000 Americans die by suicide in 2023. In Florida, a person dies by suicide every 2 hours on the average. Suicides in Florida far outnumber homicides. In 2022, suicide was among the top 9 leading causes of death for people between the age of 10 and 64. Suicide was the second leading cause of death for people between the age of 10 and 14 and 25 and 34. Guns are now leading cause of death for American children and teens, exceeding car accidents, illness, poisoning, drowning for the second consecutive year. On average, 22 children and teens are shot every day, and 5.4 million children live in homes with unlocked guns. And according to the Journal of American Medical Association, safe storage practices, including keeping firearms stored unloaded in a locked place, separate from ammunition, and are secured with an extrinsic safety device, were shown to be protective for unintentional firearm shootings and suicide attempts among adolescents and children. And the good news is that these deaths are preventable. Interrupting gun access can prevent these deaths. A suicide attempt is often an impulsive decision made in less than an hour and takes place in less than 5 minutes. Suicidal thoughts are often short-term, born of crisis, and 9 out of 10 people who survive a suicide attempt will never try again. If you or a loved one are experiencing suicidal thoughts or depression, you can call or text 988 Suicide and Crisis Hotline. That's 24 hours a day. So now, therefore, I, Bill Gantz, Mayor of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, in recognition thereof, do hereby proclaim September 2024 as Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. Ms. Militello, I know you're here from the League of Voters. Thank you so much.
Good evening, Pam Militello, 716 Emerald Way West. I'm here on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Broward and the Florida chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics. I'd like to thank the Commission for recognizing Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. Over 50,000 Americans die by suicide each year, half of them by firearm. Locking up guns saves lives. The new phone number to call for a mental health crisis is 988. Anyone who wants a free gun lock mailed to their home can email gloria.lewis@va.gov. I've brought some gun locks here. I'll leave a few of them up there. And if you know anybody who has a gun or you have a gun, you really should consider this. If you have children, they're going to a friend's house or a neighbor, you want to find out, are there guns in that home? And with the suicide prevention, many people, as you said, it's a spur of the moment. If your gun's locked, that 5 minutes it takes you to get the key and unlock that firearm may save your life. So thank you very much for the proclamation. I'm going to leave some gun locks over there. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Former Commissioner. Appreciate it. Tonight, we'd like to honor Eileen Sharkey for her outstanding achievement in publishing Grandma's Enchanted Stories. This achievement brings great honor and recognition to Ms. Sharkey, the entrepreneurship program, and the city of Deerfield Beach. We commend Eileen Sharkey for her dedication, hard work, inspiration, and we extend our sincere congratulations on this momentous occasion. May this recognition serve as a catalyst for continued success and inspire others to pursue their dreams and aspirations. Ms. Sharkey, thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Eileen Sharkey, and I'm a proud resident of Deerfield Beach, as well as a native of Broward County, Florida. Tonight, I wanted to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude to the city for offering free community classes. These classes were a lifeline for me as I worked on my book, providing both the skills and support I needed to bring my ideas to life. Thanks to this incredible resource, I am thrilled to share that I am now a published author of my very first book titled Grandma's Enchanted Stories. This achievement would not have been possible without the dedication of the instructors and the commitment of the city to fostering such creativity and learning. Thank you so much for empowering our community, and thank you so much for helping me make my dreams come true.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
National Senior Center Month originated from National Senior Center Week, which was first celebrated in May 1979. In 2007, the week was extended a month to allow for flexibility in scheduling events. The National Council on Aging celebrates September as every year as a National Senior Center Month. The concept of celebrating senior centers nationally gained wide support through organizations like the National Council on Aging, the U.S. Conference of Mayors Task Force, and the full Senate and House Select Committee on Aging. 2024, the theme of National Senior Center Month is Powering Connections, because senior centers provide countless hours of support and encouragement to older adults and become an integral part of the health and well-being of our adults in our community. The City of Deerfield Beach supports the Northeast Focal Point at Braithwaite Center for Active Aging, whose seniors are educated, elevated, and cultivated through physical fitness, arts and crafts, and social events that create an engaging and valuable culture of health for local seniors. I, Mayor Bill Gans, do hereby proclaim September 2024 as National Senior Center Month in Deerfield Beach and encourage residents to explore the Braithwaite Center for Active Aging and take it further by volunteering to help with their daily activities and their events. Jonathan, thank you. This may sound like Groundhog Day, but the Ocean Rescue Department won the USLA National Lifeguard Championship for the third straight year in the small team category under 50 guards on staff. It's the championship. The lifeguard team won a total of 15 events. We are extremely proud of our elite lifeguards gaining national recognition, and our Ocean Rescue Department continues to keep our beach and community safe. Chief Brown, your team is absolutely phenomenal. We are so proud of you, and we'd like each one of you to please come on up and accept these certificates of appreciation. Anthony Cali, Jose Bolivar, Jillian Kinney, Kevin Jones, Shannon O'Neill, Shannon Snell, my apologies, Dylan Narkowicz, Derek Narkovich, Roman Strominger, Daniel Lenhamhan, and Kenneth Repass. Congratulations to all of them.
Mr. Mayor, if I may say a few words. First of all, we're extremely proud of our crew representing the city again. I witnessed each and every one of these individuals up here show up before the sun comes up in the morning to train, before they go on shift. I witnessed them on their lunch breaks. I witnessed them after work. Each one of these lifeguards up here exemplifies professionalism, and I couldn't be more proud. One of the best compliments you could ever get from a chief, as a chief, was from one of the officials. It's an old lifeguard friend of mine, told me, you know, in the days of competing, a lot of times you're at enemies with your competitors, and you almost dislike your competitors. They couldn't say a word about Deerfield Beach because every single one of our guys up there were so polite at the competition, were so helpful, and everybody loves Deerfield. 3 years ago, we won this national championship. People were asking, where is Deerfield Beach? The second year, last year, we're in Florida. How do I get a job? This year, we had a bullseye on our back, and we overcame that, and I am extremely proud of them. I have my Lieutenant Roman here that leads by example. Not only is he a supervisor, but he's a national champion. Shannon Snell is a multiple top in the region overall point winner. Brand new addition to our Ocean Rescue Squad, Jose Boulevard, comes with many years of experiences, multiple national championships, and most importantly, not only did he train every day for nationals, he ran our junior lifeguard program out in that heat with all those kids, and he turned our program from a mediocre program back to the top level program for the Southeast region, and I'm extremely proud and honored to have him on board. And lastly, Dan Lanahan, I know I'm talking a lot. He's a top finisher, top overall points winner for our Southeast region, competes in multiple events. I'm extremely proud. And not only are these guys great competitors, but they're great ocean lifeguards protecting our citizens every day out there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. City Attorney? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Chief Hofstein. Did Adam slip out?
There he comes. All right.
Good evening. Thank you for your patience, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Mr. City Manager, and citizens at Deerfield Beach. It's my distinct honor to be here tonight to present to you some folks that we're really, really proud of. James, Deputy Nichols, will you come on down with these representatives of our Police Athletic League program? As you know, the PAL program, which is unique to Deerfield Beach, and there are other PAL programs, but ours is unique in and of itself, especially for the Sheriff's Office, has been one of the most productive and long-running PAL programs in the agency. And Deputy James Nichols, who I'm going to present to you in a moment, a longtime employee. He has been a 26-year veteran of the Sheriff's Office with 8 years dedicated to this city. And in addition to that, his law enforcement duties, he's also a phenomenal head coach. And he coordinates this amazing program, these amazing guest coaches who are here with us that work so hard behind the scenes, and these athletes that James is going to talk about tonight. And not only do they cultivate and engage such great outreach with the community, especially our youth, but they represent this city so well and some amazing achievements. James, if you'll come on up, because I don't want to steal his thunder, and I'm going to let him tell you what this trophy is and the amazing feats to these athletes.
Captain, good evening, good evening. First of all, I want to thank God for the opportunity to come back to Deerfield and serve. I grew up in this community, so it's a big honor. Thank you to the Deerfield Beach City Commission, because you always make sure we have the resources to further the mission in the community with working with the youth. Thank you to Captain Hofstein, to Lieutenant Cade, Deerfield Beach Command for always being there, Sergeant Dorio. But tonight, I just want to talk about a couple of the programs. We have the track and field. We earned 2024 third place trophy for the Atlantic Coast Youth Track and Field Association. We go out from January up to June, every weekend pretty much, tirelessly working with kids all through the week. Also practicing at Deerfield Beach Middle School, practicing at the high school. Want to give them a big thanks. Deerfield Beach Park and Rec, they're all on board. Athletics, I just want to introduce, we had another coach that was supposed to be here, but Coach JT, can you step forward? Very humble coach. Blessed to have him a part of this team. He really gets our kids ready every week. Just very passionate about working here in Deerfield. He's a product of Deerfield, grew up here, and he just works with them, gets them ready. We had 8 kids to qualify over the summer to participate in the AAU up in North Carolina, the national championship, Junior Olympics. Out of the 8, 2 of our kids, one earned 6th place nationally in long jump. Her name is Jessica. She couldn't be here tonight. And one of our young throwers, he earned about 20th place in shot put. When you take into account that each of these events have about 150 participants in each age group, that's phenomenal. We did it through the resources that you all provide. Next, we have our boxing program. This is Coach Angel. Can you step forward, Coach, if you don't mind, please? Coach Angel has been with us for about the last 6 years, 7 years. He coaches volunteers in this PAL program. He coaches, this is Miguel. Can you step forward, Miguel? And Lewis, 2 of our current fighters. That's Jeremy over there. He comes and volunteers. He's going into, he started in the PAL, but he's aged out, but you know, we don't turn anybody away. We're so, we're thankful to have him. He's just a good spirit and he comes and motivates the kids. He's going into a professional career. But these 2 younger gentlemen right here, these are your 2024 Deerfield Beach Police Athletic League Golden Glove fighters. They have won Golden Glove this year. They went on to Atlanta to also win 1st place in the Sugarbird tournament up in Atlanta, Georgia, a couple months ago. Coach Angel has been very instrumental, and he also he works for the federal government, and he also earned a Volunteer of the Year award through his agency as well. So we're so thankful about what's going on at the PAL. We're just working hard over there, the little engine that could, and we just keep thriving and keep going. So we just thank you all for your resources. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Mr. Mayor, if you'll kindly come down for a photo, I have some also special gifts for our coaches here and our athletes, and thank you. And I just want to comment that I'm very aged out, but they still let me train at the PAL too. So thank you, James, for all that you do.
Ready for the next item, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
We are now at the budget and millage public hearing for tonight. Items 6 and 7 are the proposed millage rate and tentative budget. I'm going to read both titles into the record. They're being presented together tonight. We will need separate votes on each item. And before I turn it over to the city manager, I'm going to make a little statement pursuant to Florida law. Item number 6 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, adopting the millage rate to be levied by the city for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2024 and ending September 30th, 2025, stating the percentage change by which the millage rate exceeds the rollback rate as computed pursuant to section 200.065 Florida statutes, providing for conflicts, severability, and an effective date. First reading. Item number 7 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, adopting the final budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2024, and ending September 30th, 2025, authorizing encumbrances and carry forward of funding to fulfill outstanding purchase orders, providing for conflict severability and an effective date. It's first reading. The City of Deerfield Beach proposed operating millage rate for the fiscal year 2025, which commences on October 1, 2024, is proposed at 6.0018 mils, which is 8.90% more than the rollback rate of 5.5112 mils calculated pursuant to Florida law. The voted debt service millage is equal to 0.1833 for a total proposed millage rate of 6.1851. Mr. City Manager?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, residents. David Santucci, City Manager. This evening's presentation is very similar to the one provided at the budget workshop that we did on August 28th. But just to backtrack a little bit, even before that, back in June, on June 12th and 13th, we held 2 days worth of budget workshops where we discussed department level line item budgets. The capital improvement plan received commission input as well as public input on the budget as we continue to develop it. On August 9th, in compliance with the city's charter, we submitted the budget and the budget message to the commission. The deadline for that was August 15th, so we're able to beat that deadline. Again, we did have that workshop on the 28th, which brings us to today, which is the first budget hearing for the millage rate and the budget recommendation. Also today is the second public hearing for the adoption of the FY25 fire assessment fee, the stormwater utility assessment, and the nuisance abatement assessment. On the 23rd, which is our second budget hearing, will be the final reading and hearing for the adoption of the millage rate in the final budget. First, I want to start off with what drives us when we are developing the budget, and that is our strategic plan, which has had the input of the community, the city commission, and staff in its development. And within that strategic plan are the city's strategic priorities, which include customer care and engagement, sustainability and eco-friendly environment, lifestyle quality, transparency and financial accountability, as well as modernization of city processes and infrastructure. Those are the guiding lights for us when we develop the budget. Also within our strategic plan and near and dear to all of our hearts is our organizational core values, or SHARP, which stands for service, honesty, accountability, respect, and professionalism. We're going to go through some key data as it relates to home values, condo values, overall taxable values in the city to give some perspective to the budget. And this year, the city has realized a change in the assessed value from approximately $262,000 to $287,000. But as you can see on this slide, Deerfield Beach lags behind the county average on assessed values of $382,000 by about, again, almost, $95,000 difference between Deerfield Beach's assessed values and the county average. I want to talk a little bit about values before I move on. There are several different values when you're looking at your trim notice. One of them that's not in your trim notice is your probable sale price of your home, something a realtor would tell you. And then there's your market value that you'll see on your trim notice. Your market value is a representation of the property appraiser's estimation of market value for your home, which he only does once a year. So throughout the year, there may be sales that occur on your property that would, make that go higher or make that go lower. But at a snapshot in time, the property appraiser does a market value for your home. From there, there is an assessed value. And the assessed value is different in the market value in that the state of Florida, we have homestead. And so property values can only increase 3% if you have a homesteaded property. So your assessed value could be much lower if you've lived in your home for a very long time and have had it homesteaded, or it could be close to the market value if it's a recent purchase. From there, there's a taxable value, which is different from the assessed value. And the taxable value is representation of homestead exemptions and other exemptions that are allowed by law or within Broward County, which would include the first homestead exemption of $25,000, the second homestead exemption of $25,000, which that second homestead exemption of $25,000 does not apply to the Broward County School Board tax rate. There could also be other tax exemptions like veterans exemptions, elderly exemptions, and these sorts of things. But as we move forward, we talk about taxable values. We'll be talking about them with just the likely two homestead exemptions. Also want to point out that these single-family home values that we're showing here are as of July 24, and that Deerfield Beach has the 11th lowest assessed value in Broward County. This graph is a little busy, but I'm going to explain it. Okay, so here we're trying to do some comparisons to other cities that we look at as benchmarks. And we've got from the left to right, Hollywood, Tamarack, Coconut Creek, Coral Springs, Sunrise, then Deerfield Beach, Dania Beach, Oakland Park, Pompano, and Fort Lauderdale. The bar graphs represent the number of parcels in that city. And so when you look at something like a Fort Lauderdale or a Hollywood or even a Coral Springs, which in Pompano Beach where they're higher, it's a representation of their population. We know that they have higher populations than us. They have more units in terms of single family homes as well as condos. And then the line graphs going across are in blue, the single family average taxable value, and then in the yellow, the condo average taxable value. So there's a correlation here in terms of how much ad valorem tax revenue a city receives as it relates to the average taxable value and the number of parcels that they have in that city. Obviously, the more parcels and the more taxable value, the more ad valorem tax they're going to receive. This information comes from the Department of Revenue and it's 2023 data, but we can assume that from 2023 to 2024, it hasn't changed entirely too much. And what this represents here is the residential property values, the assessed values of the property, and where along this graph, the various single-family homes, mobile homes, condos, where their assessments fit in. So looking at the top for Deerfield Beach, those are assessed values of $1 million or more. And at the very bottom of the graph would be less than 50,000 assessed values. The blue represents single-family homes. The gray represents condos. So for the city of Deerfield Beach, you can see that we have relatively lower valued condos, mid to low range single-family home assessed values, and very few at that top end being, $1 million, 900,000, 800,000, something along those lines. There's few. And as I flip through these charts to show you some other cities and where they fall, I want you to also recognize that this bar graph, it tops out at different values because as we saw in the previous slide, that the number of parcels and units within each given city is different. So for the city of Deerfield Beach, we're topping out at about 3,500 units. So when you see something like, I know you probably can't see it, but 125,000 to 150,000, that goes all the way across. There's about 3,500 units that fall into that assessed value range. Let's look at Pompano Beach. You can see that Pompano Beach has both single-family home and condo ranges that are higher than ours. They have much less at the bottom of the range, being that 50,000, 60,000, 70,000, and it's more spread out within the 400, 300, 250, and $200,000 range. They top out at 6,500 units in the $300,000 assessed value category. City of Sunrise, again, lower values here, okay? They have many condos that are assessed at less than 50,000, many more than us. And then they have their single-family homes distributed amongst a median of approximately 400,000 to probably about 200,000 on their assessments. Take a look at Tamarack and see something similar there, lower values, nothing really much in the higher end. And then Boca Raton, where you can see that they have close to 6,000 units that are of about $1 million or more. And most of their distribution is in that higher range, somewhere between 700,000 to 400,000. So their values are pretty high in Boca Raton. It's just comparative data that helps explain, how a city's ad valorem taxes are in direct relation to the home values and the number of parcels that they have. We can take a look at Coral Springs as well. Coral Springs, much more evenly distributed, much more single-family homes, and they're distributed between that 500,000 to about $300,000 range. Just breeze through Coconut Creek real quick. So here's Coconut Creek. They have a lot of condos. They have a similar senior community to us, so you can see some condos in the lower range there. Now let's talk a little bit about total property taxes. All right. Across the top is every taxing agency or city, or municipality, I should say, in Broward County, and where those millage rates, total millage rates fall. And within that box that you can see in that brownish color is really where we kind of stack up. So you can see Plantation, Dania, Deerfield, Coral Springs, Pompano, Oakland Park, Sunrise, Lazy Lake, Sea Lake Ranches, Wilton Manors. And that's about the range that we're at. And our total millage rate proposed for FY25 is 20.3546 mils. The importance of that really is to break down that the trim notice that you receive is a reflection of all taxing authorities, not just the city of Deerfield Beach. So a lot of times we hear, and we have heard actually recently, I seen my taxes are $13,000. And the assumption is that that's all collected by the city of Deerfield Beach. Well, for one, the city of Deerfield Beach does not collect taxes. The tax collecting agency is the Broward County Property Appraiser's Office, and they remit those to us. But in addition, they are the ones that are doing the assessments on properties. They are the ones that provide the assessments. So they're giving you the values of your home, and then those values are applied across the millage rates that you can see here. And for the city of Deerfield Beach, it's not only the city, but Broward County Schools, which again, they do not, that second homestead exemption does not apply to them. So they actually see a little bit more revenue on that 6.4655 millage rate. Broward County's millage rate is 5.6690. Then you also have other taxing districts like the North Broward Hospital, the South Florida Water Management District, and the Children's Services Council. So for Deerfield Beach, the taxes that are remitted through property taxes are approximately 30% of the overall taxes that are paid by any property within the city. For FY25, we are recommending that the operating millage rate remain the same at 6.0018. However, we will see an overall decrease in the millage rate going from 6.2538 to 6.1851 from FY24 to FY25. So you will notice on the trim that the millage rate for Deerfield Beach is going down. In fact, the millage rate for Deerfield Beach has gone down consistently pretty much over the past 10 years or so. We've had a few years where it remained the same in FY17, 18, 19, but the general trajectory has been a lower millage rate year over year for the city of Deerfield Beach. And we've seen consistently over the past 5 years that the millage rate has gone down. Looking again at some of the cities that we've already taken a look at, you can see some comparisons of millage rates. You've got some cities like Tamarack and Coconut Creek who are increasing their millage rates. You've got some that are going down slightly like a Pompano Beach or an Oakland Park, but the vast majority are staying the same as the city of Deerfield Beach is making, staff is making a recommendation that the operating millage rate remain the same from FY24 to FY25. One thing that I want to, we did take a look at the last workshop, and we'll show it again here for those that didn't see it. But when you talk about your overall taxable value for your city, it takes all property that is within the city and it puts a value to it. But then it nets that out against the new property values that have come online within that city. And this is going to change from year to year. You may have a project in your city or in the city of Deerfield Beach that was a high dollar value project that got their certificate of occupancy last year. So that comes on the tax roll in that year. And then this year, maybe we have a lot of construction going on, but we haven't had a lot come onto the tax roll. So you're going to see years where last year's ahead of the current year and vice versa. But it's interesting just to kind of get a picture of what development looks like across the board. And the gray line represents current new net taxable value, and the blue line represents the proposed new taxable value that will come on the books in FY25. So for Deerfield Beach, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines down, we're going to see less new taxable value on our books in FY25 than we did in this current year. So we've shown a lot of graphs that relate the property taxes that a city receives as it relates to the overall ad valorem revenues that it receives. And here in the bar graph is a representation of the operating millage rate for these cities that we have on this graph. So it'd be Fort Lauderdale, Pompano Beach, going from left to right, Oakland Park, Dania, Deerfield, Sunrise, Coral Springs, Coconut Creek, Tamarack, and Hollywood. And so obviously Hollywood having a higher millage rate all the way back down to the left, Fort Lauderdale having a lower millage rate. But you can see some consistencies here in terms of the 2024 taxable values, which is that teal line, where the taxable values for Fort Lauderdale are much higher than, let's say, in Oakland Park or even for Deerfield Beach. So by and large, we kind of fall in that middle of the road, if you will, for millage rates, yet we still have a lower taxable value than most. When we talk about ad valorem tax revenue, we have to remember that we have a CRA in the city and that a portion of our tax revenue goes to that CRA. So while the total citywide estimated tax collection is $66.48 million, the CRA will receive $2.85 million of that money, and the projected net general fund tax collection is $63.63 million. 1 mil for the city generates $10.7 million of ad valorem tax revenue, and this is an 8.86 net increase in taxable value of property at a total of $11.3 billion. This slide is a representation of ad valorem tax revenue since 2016. Obviously a steady increase, a larger increase over 23 to 24, and it's starting to not obviously flatten out, but not increase as high as it did in just the past 2 previous years. Also associated, but separate from the budget, is the fire assessment fee. And fire assessment fees are, it's an assessment that's associated with the fire services provided by our fire rescue operations. It's only associated with the fire services and not the EMS services. And in the city of Deerfield Beach, the most recent study that we did, which was just a few years ago, indicated that the full assessment for fire assessment fees was somewhere in the range of, I think, $374. Of course, the city can adopt something less than that, and it chose to do at that time and has historically chosen to do so, adopting a rate that's less than the full amount. But the rate that we currently have is $315, which is represented in the blue lines. Those are the current rates. And then the gray lines represent the proposed rates for 2025. So you can see several cities are much higher than us. And we have a preliminary rate resolution that was passed at 325 previously. And that is what you'll be voting on later on tonight, is the fire assessment fee rate. So a lot of our costs, not only for our cities, but for our residents and businesses as well, are linked to the consumer price index. And so just like, goods and services bought at home, the city has goods and services that it needs to procure in order to run an effective government. And we can look at the consumer price index over time, dating back to June of 20, all the way up to June of 24. And we all know what that has been like and what that has looked like. But the last June 24 consumer price index hovered around 4.5 for us here locally in the Fort Lauderdale, Miami area. Let's get into a little bit of the overall budget at this point and take a look at the budget broken down by fund. And in the general fund, you can see an increase of approximately 18 million. And we will go into detail on that, and I'll explain where that $18 million increase comes from. Also we see the building fund, we're seeing a slight increase in what we expect in terms of building activity. Our planning director has done a really good job estimating this year over year and has been pretty accurate. So we think that $6.1 million number is probably pretty solid. Within the road and bridge fund, we see a $2.7 million increase. This relates a lot to grant funds that we get. Remember, we have the Broward County surtax funds, and when we get those dollars, a lot of the projects that we're able to do are housed within this fund. So that's generally what that increase is there. Grant funds are slowly going down. If you remember, we had ARPA funds, and as we expend that grant dollars will go down. Utility fund is seeing a slight decrease. A lot of their activity that they did last year obviously just didn't need to be in the budget this year. So there is a $5 million decrease in this year's budget for the utility fund. Solid waste fund, again, slight decrease. Stormwater fund is reflective. That increase is reflective of the stormwater projects that we have ongoing and coming online. 8th Ave, Crystal Lake, Deer Run, and MLK. So the funding that comes in for that, and a lot of that is grant funded, will be coming in. We just found out, a matter of fact, last week that we were awarded a hefty multi-million-dollar grant for the stormwater project, I believe is it on MLK? Yes. So we're really excited about that, but that's a huge win for us. So I'm happy to see that come along. Debt service is down this fiscal year about $1 million, which is good, less reliance on debt service. And then we have other funds that go in there. And then of course, our capital improvement plan, which is going to vary year to year, depending on where we are in terms of what stage we are with various projects and obviously the costs associated with them. So the overall increase in the budget is about $12.2 million. This all does include the insurance services and medical insurance funds that's housed in our general fund, and this does not include the CRA. So we talked a little bit about an $18 million increase, and so let's try to break that down a little bit more and talk about general fund impacts. So first, we had our fire rescue contract increased by $2 million. We also had our law enforcement contract increased by $1.7 million. Our health insurance increased by 2.5. We're anticipating personnel services overall increased by 2.6 million. We've seen our property insurance within the city, just in the general fund, increase by 655,000. Also, our charges for services from our enterprise funds back onto the general fund. So for things like water, sewer, solid waste that we have for our parks, for City Hall, so on and so forth, we're seeing an increase of $371,400 there. Also, we are getting ready to celebrate the city's centennial. So there is $500,000 in there to go towards the various events, memorabilia, so on and so forth, associated with the centennial. We've had an increase in our landscape services to increase the level of service as it relates to irrigation and some other service levels that are 300,000. And then there is 12.1 million, which is transfers to the general fund, capital fund. And I do believe I have this on another slide, but I'll go over it twice just so that it's clear. When we talk about transfers to the general capital fund, it can be for a number of reasons. And in this year, we're looking at a reserve of new use of unassigned fund balance of 3.9 million. Last year, we were above that. I think we're about 4.6 million of designated new use. In addition, we have a project coming online, which is FAU Research Park Boulevard. And FAU Research Park Boulevard is going to be probably about an $8 million project, if not more. I don't have the exact number on me, but as part of that project, we are receiving community contributions from the sale of the 1045 Southwest 11th Way project. If you remember, through referendum, voters approved to sell that property for 6.5 million, along with 7.5 million in community contributions. So as part of that 7.5 million, 4 million of that will go towards this FAU Research Boulevard project. There's also surtax funding associated with this project as well. The problem is that the surtax funding that we're going to receive is we're going to need to start expending that within the next 12 to 18 months. And so just from an accounting principle standpoint, you have to have the money to enter into a contract with the contractor and enter a purchase order. So we have to make sure that we have the full amount of the award in order to move forward. And so in order for us to do that, understanding that we're going to get the surtax funding, we're going to have to start expending the surtax funding in 12 to 18 months, most likely. We're not going to receive the $4 million from the 1045 project for about, probably 24 to 36 months from today, if not more. So the idea here is to assign $4 million from our fund balance for the FAU Research Boulevard project. That will provide us accountability on those funds when we do start expending those. And then we will reimburse the general fund unassigned fund balance with those proceeds when they're received from the 1045 project. We will expend our grant funds and our construction dollars first before tapping into this $4 million. But again, we do have to have that reserved in order to move forward with the project. The other 4.6 and the 8.4, these are carry forwards of capital projects that began in the previous fiscal year or maybe even the fiscal year before that and are continuing on. We just have to carry that money forward year to year in order to complete those funds. So 4.6 are related to indirect ARPA projects, and the 8.4 is related to general fund capital projects that are going on in 2024. So the impacts overall are $28.6 million. And if you saw the increase in the general fund at 18 million, they don't add up. And that's because we do our due diligence in other places and we find ways to balance the budget and save money in other places. But it's important, I think, to recognize where we do see these increases, but also to recognize that these increases are not a straight line increase into the general fund. We have had some changes since the last time we had our budget workshops back in June. And even since we had our budget workshop on the 28th, we made one more tweak, and I'll point that one out. But since the budget workshops, we did have a decrease in the reduction of the interfund loan repayment from the CRA. That was going to be for the Sawgrass to Seagrass project. We did have an increase of 150,000 in the centennial celebration. Originally, we had 350. The commission showed concern that we weren't going to light up the celebration enough, so we added an additional 150,000 in there to make sure that we do that. We're also have an increase of a little over 36,000 for an admin assistant going from part-time to full-time in the Public Affairs and Marketing Department. I did show you all that we did have an increase of, I believe I said 371,000 in our sewer charges, water and sewer charges, as well as solid waste. But we started out at almost $1 million in that increase, and then we reduced it. So we caught some things that allowed us to reduce that. Also electric charges. So the charges that we have for electric services that are provided to us to fix, electrical related issues are increasing by 53,000. And then the next two we're going to talk about this a little bit later when we talk about really kind of future considerations and long range planning a little bit. But we are getting really close to being able to meet with the community and the commission on the Public Safety Master Plan. We're reviewing that draft now. It's a very large document, and it's, we're going to have action items from it. But what those action items are, we really don't know because we haven't met with the city commission on this yet. So until we get that direction from you of what those next steps might be in terms of the Public Safety Master Plan, which is going to provide us direction and some recommendations on public safety infrastructure and staffing and these sorts of things, we wanted to make sure that we had at least a reservation of dollars to move forward with something once we get there, because that certainly is going to happen early in FY25. And then the downtown master plan. We've gone through a study activity with the ULI. They looked at this downtown. They've come up with some recommendations. That's another activity that will be coming here shortly. So we're going to be looking at doing a charrette with the community so that we can continue to engage and get input and get their thoughts on what a city hall and what a downtown and what a Pioneer Park can look like in its entirety and holistically. But we don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet. So again, we reserved $250,000 for that in the next phase of what that may look like. We talked already about the $4 million general fund assigned fund balance for the FAU Research CIP project. This next one is new. It's a reduction in a current budgeted position in the Budget and Performance Management division. And then we also found approximately $90,000 in reductions, just removing some fleet equipment since the last time we had the budget workshops in June. Talked a little bit about the overall budget, general fund, some of the increases, and some of the cost pressures that we have. When we take a look at overall revenues, you can see, as we've talked about, the ad valorem tax revenue are increasing by $4 million. I also want to preface that this is all funds, not just general fund. The local option sales and fuel taxes, an increase of $5.4 million. A lot of that has to do with surtax funding. When we get surtax funding, this is the classification of revenue that falls under. Utility service taxes are anticipated to increase this year by $1.6 million, as well as a slight increase in the community services tax. Also, probably see a slight increase in local business taxes this year, based just off our local business activity, which is a good indicator of economic development. Talked about permits already, and we have some increases in franchise fees. I'm just going to scroll down a little bit more to charges for services. That's a $4 million increase there. So charges for services generally come from our enterprise funds. So you're talking water and sewer rates, stormwater, and solid waste. Solid waste, stormwater, and water are what makes mostly of those charges for services. Judgments, fines, and forfeitures, you can see a large increase there of $2.6 million. If you remember, and I'm sure you do, that the city adopted or actually approved a contract and an ordinance to move forward with the school zone speeding initiative. And we anticipate that when we first go through this in the first year, we're likely going to see those fines go up pretty high until people learn their lessons and get back into a rhythm of not speeding through these speed zones. And so we anticipate probably this increase that I'm showing of the 2.6 million, it's likely not to stay like that year over year, but initially we think we're going to see a bump. Transfers in really are just movement of money to meet Gadsby accounting principle requirements that go from one fund to the other. So we talked about transfers in, right? And that's just one example. when it comes to the capital fund and the general fund. What happens is if you have money in the general fund, that transfer has to be an expenditure and a revenue on both sides into the capital fund. And that just happens all across the funds that I showed you earlier. And so the transfers in are really not, they're non-revenues, if you will. Our debt proceeds are going down, indication of our use of loans and those sorts of things. And then the overall fund balance, use of fund balance across all funds is down by about $5 million. And we have slides to go into detail on that. So the overall increase in the budget is approximately $12 million. I'd like to take a break if I may, and I'm going to turn it over to our Deputy City Manager. He's going to talk a little bit about budget initiatives.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. I'll just continue on talking about some of the initiatives. The manager just mentioned the school speed camera implementation, and that was brought to you recently to address the cameras in the school zones, addressing encouraging people to slow down as they move through our 7 different areas. The ERP implementation will continue with that, and part of that will be bringing online the financial module as well as the HR module. The finance module we anticipate going live in January of next year. The HR module we anticipate in June, and we'll continue. We had attempted to give an update on that in a little bit more detail. If you needed that, we'll be able to provide that. The Parks Master Plan, we have it in our budget to go ahead and do an assessment of the facilities, the service needs and the gaps in our parks and recreational areas, and then probably to make some recommendations there. Similar, our downtown redevelopment, looking at the community outreach and developments of plan and development of those areas. We had already given you an update on the fishing pier. That's an initiative that will continue, and it will be ongoing, anticipated to run probably another year and just over a year before completion. The manager had just mentioned also the public safety master plan. We anticipate that will be completed. Once completed, we'll have to take some action steps to move it forward, develop some concepts, some plans, and move through the master plan to implementation somehow. Additional things we'll have to consider is that our code compliance contract expires during this year. So there are 2 critical components. One, we had brought those issues to the commission and acknowledged that there may be a desire to bring it in-house. Additionally, our service levels are not on par with other municipalities. And then additionally, to make that decision and move that forward. So those are all related decisions that would need to be coming to you and made it during this fiscal year. Our Central City, we recently brought a contract to you for community outreach engagement. That's in this year's budget. And the Centennial Celebration, which the manager had just mentioned. We anticipate completing the lifeguard station once the sea turtle season is completed. Right now, we're precluded from going and doing some work using heavy equipment. We anticipate once we're allowed to, we'd be able to go in there and complete during this year. And then initiatives relating to coastal resiliency, whether it's the Dune Master Plan, Artificial Reef Master Plan, beach renourishment, those efforts related to coastal resiliency, we anticipate moving forward. The Vision Zero, we had adopted and developed a master plan or an action plan during this year. And next year, we plan to start the implementation of that. And then similar to code enforcement, our contract for building department services expires in the upcoming year. So that's something that we'll need to pay attention to, go ahead and bid that out and make some decisions in terms of moving that forward. A lot of these other areas are enterprise funds. And these are project types that you may have seen this or gotten an update on this already in the road and bridge. The 15th Avenue design, Crystal Lakes design, the normal appropriation for annual street resurfacing. the Pioneer Grove streetscape improvements, highway lighting upgrades to LED, and the FAU Research Park Boulevard design. For the stormwater, the MLK Avenue stormwater, 8th Avenue drainage improvements, West Deerfield drainage improvements, and Crystal Lakes 45th Street drainage improvements. So these are all capital projects that you will be seeing. A lot of these are multi-year, so we'll probably discuss it in 1 year. You'll have some concepts being brought to you, some decisions being made, probably design in another year or staggering years. You'll see permitting, and then you'll see the construction started. So a lot of these are over a 3, 4, multiple years. For utilities, right now we're doing the automatic meter project, and that's an example of the multi-year. We're, I think, probably around 40% complete with this project. Ion exchange project, the chemical improvement project, reverse osmosis element replacement. All these are projects to maintain the integrity of the water that we're providing and distributing to our community. And in the solid waste, some of the key areas is conducting a feasibility study for a city-owned trash transfer station, potentially modifying the residential garbage routes to improve efficiency, and developing the artificial reef master plan, as well as the Dune master plan program. Just to highlight some of the changes in this budget in terms of personnel, we're converting 8 ocean lifeguards positions that are currently will call, converting them to 4 regular positions. And the idea there is to help augment or adjust, convert from 8-hour days to 10-hour days to enhance the coverage of our ocean rescue activities. Similarly, converting 9 summer camp lifeguards that are specifically designated for use solely during the summer, converting those to 3 year-round lifeguards that can be used throughout the year and give us more flexibility. The manager just mentioned the adjustment in the budget office. That's eliminating 1 budget analyst, adding a senior buyer to address a lot of these procurement-related needs that we have to provide internal support. The admin assistant addition in PAM and the digital marketing specialist in PAM, and addition of our assistant director of IT to be more robust, reflect our needs, get us more prepared in terms of cybersecurity, and get us in line with where we need to be in terms of protecting our cybersecurity and our IT area. We would be bringing on a code compliance manager, whether we're using the service as a contracted service or an in-house service. We think this is a critical first step in terms of doing the assessment, in terms of managing the staff, and that we plan on doing that, pulling that position out of the contract and converting in the contract, converting and adding a code compliance officer. So one would be, the manager would be on staff, the code compliance officer would be on the contract, and then addition of an executive officer in the fire rescue department, and that also would be contracted with our BSO. And again, when looking at the staffing ratios and staffing needs, we thought that that's definitely a recommendation we would be making, and it's especially justified given the fact that a number of our we're completing our public safety master plan, and there are concerns with several of our stations. There need to be some long-term planning there, some strategic planning. So it would be, we would need someone looking at the operation, the day-to-day, simultaneously looking at the long-term, following this through and moving it through. So these are some of the areas that we definitely would be recommending adjusting in our staffing. Thank you.
Thank you, Boris.
So on this slide is the proposed major uses of fund balance across the major funds. Within the general fund, we already talked about it, but let's review it again. We're looking at a reservation of new use of fund balance of 3.9 million, and that is used to fund to balance the budget and to fund capital projects. Then we have the movement of unassigned to assigned fund balance of $4 million for the FAU Research Boulevard project, as well as carry forwards of approximately 13 million in ARPA projects, and other general capital projects that are carrying over to FY25. Within the utility fund, we're proposing a new use of $5.2 million. This is consistent with the utility master plan that we completed. And so we did anticipate this use for our capital projects that we are recommending move forward in FY25. And then it's $1 million in carry forward. Within the solid waste fund, the stormwater fund, and other funds, there is carry forward in those other amounts for a total of the 35.6 million that you see below, which again is a reduction in overall use of fund balance. These next slides will take us through the capital improvement plan. We did spend a considerable amount of time talking about this back in June, so I won't go over each one of them. Just maybe some of the highlights. You can see the FAU Research Boulevard Park in there. FEC fence from Southeast 10th Street to Sample Road at 1.8 million. We also have dollars in there for a new showmobile at 500,000. We're going to continue with the evaluation of an artificial reef at 100,000 and other various street lighting, pavilions, playgrounds, things that are on a rotation to be either rehabbed or replaced throughout the city. In the utilities fund, we've already started with the design of the new water treatment process that's going to address our forever chemicals or PFAS chemicals. So you're not seeing much activity this year on that project, but next year we'll see a significant increase in utility capital fund of approximately 18 to 19 million is what they're estimating for that project right now. But we do have some other significant projects on our reverse osmosis and nanofiltration sand filters at $1.7 million. The AMI project continues and is going well and ahead of schedule, $850,000. And then water main replacement at the East Water Treatment Plant at $670,000 are some of the larger ones that we have here. Within the solid waste fund, we have some upgrades to building security in the facility itself, as well as the gas ventilation system within the fleet garage. And within stormwater, we have $400,000 for various stormwater improvements. We put $400,000 in there on an annual basis for the unknown. And typically, we certainly have a lot of the unknown as it relates to stormwater, and we'll go in, we'll do some exfiltration, we'll add a French drain somewhere, whatever it may be, or as well as if we have projects that might come in through the bidding process and be more than what we originally estimated. That's what we use those funds for there. For fleet equipment, this is across all funds at 6.2 million, 3.8 in the general fund. A lot of that has to do with the replacement of a fire platform. The lead time on the fire platform right now is somewhere in the range of 4 years. So it's not that we need this right now, but we need to buy this right now in order to have it for when we're going to need it. We also have a fire rescue ambulance at $350,000. I'm sorry, I mentioned the showmobile under the capital plan, but it actually is under the fleet equipment. I apologize for that. So you can see the showmobile here at $500,000. And other various equipment that we have, backhoes, skid loaders, passenger vans, pickup trucks, so on and so forth. We have a dump truck in Road and Bridge, another pickup truck in utilities, and within the solid waste fund is on the replacement schedule for some of our automated side loaders, our front end loaders, roll-offs. We did get that question about the shred truck, right? So you see the shred truck here at, it's actually a trailer, excuse me, shred trailer, $125,000, and another pickup truck. So trying to put some of these projects and plans that we've talked about through this presentation and really probably throughout the year at various levels But, we talked about the dollars that we set aside for the downtown revitalization and the city hall redevelopment, and really looking at how to spark Pioneer Grove from a vertical infrastructure perspective. Right now, we are working on the underground utility project. We're on Eller right now, so there's periodic road closures for that, where the pipes are actually going in the ground right now. And all of that is to help build the capacity for what Pioneer Grove was meant to be. And with that, and it's all kind of intertwined, is, the public safety master plan and other capital investment needs that we have. Because if you're looking at the development of downtown, and as we are moving forward also with our Parks and Recreation master plan, they're all going to come together. And all three of those plans are going to collide here, so to speak. Because you're going to have to talk about redevelopment of downtown. You're going to have to talk about what the needs from a Parks and Recreation standpoint are, and that's going to relate to Pioneer Park. And then when you talk about the public safety master plan and you look at the facility across the street in the headquarters, all these decisions are going to come together. But it's important that these plans are done so that we're doing things methodically, we're doing them strategically, and we're doing them in a manner in which the public has visibility and transparency into the process. We talked a little bit about our fire assessment fees, but one of the things is that right now we are recapturing at a rate of about 83. Again, I talked about we could have a rate as high as $374. That would be a 100% assessment. The city is at a rate much lower than that, and at a rate much lower than the average in the county. But this did not consider some of the study that we did a few years ago did not consider a lot of the things that we have ahead of us with this capital infrastructure improvements, the recommendations that are going to come out of the public safety master plan with what we need to do with fire stations. It didn't contemplate $1 million increase in FRS pension contributions that the state required us to do, and all these kinds of things. So, when it's time to do the study activity again in about 2 to 3 years, the commission needs to be prepared for what that study is going to come back with in terms of recommendations and a rate recommendation. Also, we did talk about 1045 project, very happy that one is, in the entitlement project process. And we do expect them to start submitting to the county and the city very soon. At that time, we'll be able to publicly show the plans, because they'll be final at that point. I think it's an extremely exciting project and definitely a catalytic project for the city of Deerfield Beach. Then, of course, you have the Southwest 10th Street project that is in the procurement phase right now. We expect that they're going to be under construction within the next 12 to 18 months. Of course, they were supposed to be there now, so we may see further delays on that project, but it's going to have a huge impact on the city while it's going on. But I do believe that once it is complete, and with the efforts that the city commission has had and the influence that they have had on this project, it's going to be also catalytic for the city of Deerfield Beach, because we will have really the luxury of having major transportation networks within our city of Southwest 10th Street connector, the Turnpike, and I-95. And that's something that most cities do not have the luxury to have. Apologize for the header. I think when it converts to PDF, sometimes for whatever reason, it gets jumbled, but I'll read it. Average tax obligation, city ad valorem. So the last time we did the workshop on August 28th, there's some questions that came in to me about, well, my taxes are going up substantially, and you said that the city's millage rate's going down, so how could that be? And so let's present this in a little bit different way, because if you remember the slide many slides ago where we showed that the overall millage rate for the city of Deerfield Beach is 20 point something mills, it's made up of many other taxing authorities. So what we're looking at here is the FY24 condo final taxable value, the 25 condo value, the FY '24 single-family home, '25 single-family home, and then the average sale price single-family home for FY '24 and FY '25. Take note that that has gone down a little bit. And that was what was provided to us by Marty Carr, our property appraiser, when he did give us our presentation about a month ago. But in Broward County schools, you know, they tax us, and then Broward County is also taxing us. Then you have all these other taxing districts, and you have the city of Deerfield Beach. On top of that, you also have the fire assessment that shows up here. This year, you'll be converting the stormwater fee from the utility bill to the non-ad valorem assessments. And since that is the first time that we'll be doing that, that is excluded from this slide, but that's also on there. So just looking at the FY '25 single-family home value, the total tax obligation for that final taxable value, average taxable value in the city of Deerfield Beach at $248,648, that totals $5,378.94. But to Deerfield Beach is only receiving $1,862.91. Now, if you bought your home last year and you haven't homesteaded or you're not homesteaded, you're most likely to see a taxable value in the range that's on the right, which is that $639,378 and or more, right? And that tax obligation is around, you know, 14 to 13,000, but the city's portion of that is between 4,500 to 4,200. So I wanted to break that down and also show that daily taxable rate that's associated with the Deerfield Beach tax, but more importantly, show that the total tax rate that shows up on your trim notification is not the city of Deerfield Beach's entirely. There's many other taxing districts. Also, the city does not do the assessments. We do not do the exemptions as well. So the tax collector does all of that. But thought this was important to show. So in summary, the millage rate that is being recommended this year is the 6.0018 mils, unchanged from last year. We will be seeing a reduction in the debt millage rate. So the overall millage rate for City of Deerfield Beach will be going down to 6.1851 mils. And the fire assessment recommendation for FY '25 is an increase of $10 for the entire year, going from $315 per ERU to $325 per ERU. The preliminary fire assessment resolution has been drafted at $325 and approved under the preliminary rate resolution. And again, today you will be doing the final adoption of the non-ad valorem assessments, all of them, and the second reading and final adoption of the budget and the millage rate will occur on September 23rd, 2024. I want to just take a moment to, again, thank my staff, especially our finance department and our budget manager, our deputy city manager, for their work on the budget. We have been recognized for our financial accountability and our fiscal operations. Our budget development has received the GFOA Distinguished Award. Our annual consolidated financial report has received GFOA certification of achievement. Our audit, for the first time in all the years that I've been city manager, has received a clean audit with no findings. Markham, who is our external auditor, reported that they have seen an improved financial assessment of the city year over year. And last but not least, of course, recently, our bond rating has increased from Fitch, going from a AA or AA negative to a AA plus. And so I want to just leave you with that as we've taken great strides to improve the financial position of the city and provide you with sound recommendations in terms of city's finances. With that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Gentlemen, any questions? No. Okay. All right. Is there anyone from the public care to comment on this item? Yes, sir. Just your name and address for the record, please.
Dave Goldman, 517 Southeast 7th Avenue. I have a question about the health insurance premium increase of 2.6 million. Seemed a lot. Is there some explanation for that?
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah. I live on 7th Avenue where that 8th Avenue stormwater project's
Right.
going on.
Does
I
that have
think
to
it's
do
a-
with this budget yet?
Yes.
Okay,
It's in the
sort of
budget.
it.
It's a giant waste of
Believe
money.
me, I've got it on my agenda to talk about tonight too. Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, Lucia Del Genio, 707 North Shore Drive. First, I'd like to thank you, the city, for trying to make our lives enjoyable. I hope I didn't get this wrong from the FY25 budget, but at the strategic goals and strategies, it refers to us as the citizens as customers, and I would prefer you change that to residents. Before you finalize the budget, our customers are actually the tourists, and they must be honored by us always. The budget shows the same rate of millage for the last few years, which is fine, but it would be better if we could bring the major developments, developers willing to create a grand and sophisticated area on Dixie Highway with condominiums, high rises, luxury restaurants, and nightclubs, increasing our revenue, which seems to be the solution other cities adopted to bring the millage down. We need a second downtown. Even though Mayor Gantz says the reduction per household is negligible, those $67 mean a lot to residents on tight budgets. The Dixie Corridor in our city is unappealing in comparison with Dixie Highway in Boca Raton and other cities. Hopefully, the next election will bring in representatives with a more grandiose, luxurious, and ambitious vision for our precious city. High property taxes and homeowner insurance premiums are driving too many families to homelessness, so any decrease is important. Lifeguard schedules going from 5 8-hour days to 4 10-hour days doesn't seem as a great solution to improve coverage to me, unless I don't understand it. I would like to be a question. Please explain and tell us what job benefits they get now and will get if the changes in scheduling happen. Park improvements, although super important, could possibly be assisted by community fundraisers where residents would participate and take great pride in the final product while helping cut costs to the city. Our commissioner, because the mayor usually asks me what to do to decrease the costs, I think that's the commission that must prioritize projects and make cuts where needed so that the cost of the projects don't cause burden on the taxpayers. And I'd like to say, one more minute.
Sure.
As far as the filtration of the water, I find that's a very honorable step, although I understand the ordinance from the county, which makes us add chemicals after the filtration. I know you cannot do anything about it as a commission, but I like to bring it to the public. That's what we need to do and not add chemicals after we clean the water. Thank you.
Roger Freitag, 418 Southeast 2nd Street, Deerfield Beach, Florida. I'm just curious where the Deerfield Beach spent $30,000 for travel and lunch expenses for our commissioners, $38,000 on a vote to extend term limits that we didn't need, $1 million of sand that sits idle by the city of Deerfield Beach campus that is nice, or for not only the Jehovah's Witness Church across the street, but also for the training center, and outstanding code compliance violations that have not been collected in the balance of $118 million. I'm just curious, where is the fiscal accountability for our great city? Thank you.
Thank you.
Dan Hers, 330 Southeast 19th Avenue. Mayor, I'm going to assume that you're going to bring up public comment separately for the millage and for the budget, but if I'm incorrect, please let me know. When Commissioner Hudak returns, would someone please inform the District 1 Commissioner that he was spreading falsehoods at the August budget workshop when he said the city of Deerfield Beach is not raising taxes in fiscal 2025, but was in fact lowering taxes. In the ordinance that the city attorney just read, it states the following. The proposed fiscal year 25 operating millage is 6.0018, which represents an increase of almost 9% over the rollback rate. And such percentage change is characterized as the percentage increase in property taxes pursuant to section 200.065 Florida statute. As I mentioned previously, this is the 15th time in the last 16 years that the city has increased property taxes. There are many more cities in South Florida, not just Delray Beach, that are lowering their operating millage rate for the coming year. They include Pompano, Oakland Park, Miami-Dade County, and Boca Raton, just to name a few. The reason these cities are able to lower taxes is because they have city managers who do not subscribe to the tax and spend philosophy that our city manager is so proud of. These other cities do not feel you are going down a slippery slope when you lower the operating millage rate. These cities know when you receive over $16 million from the federal government, it would be nice to throw your own taxpayers a small bone. These cities know that you can't keep bringing up ancient history of the one time the city of Deerfield Beach lowered taxes and then had to raise them back up the following year. And what is conveniently left out of the story is the whole United States was still suffering from the Great Recession and property values were still plummeting, and that the only reason the operating millage rate was lowered was to offset the new utility tax that the city introduced. The millage rate was lowered that year to help sell the taxpayers on the virtues of this new and wonderful utility tax. I wonder why the mayor never mentions these crucial facts when he talks about how the commission was burned that one time, oh, so many years ago. I also noticed there is a theme from certain commissioners every budget year. Last year was that the commissioners really know how to pivot as they tried to explain away why they no longer were going to hold city manager to the goal they laid out for him in his performance review of lowering the operating millage rate. This year's theme is to challenge the taxpayers and force their illusion onto the taxpayers by saying the only way to possibly consider lowering property taxes is to eliminate city services. What a charade it is. This is.
Thank you, Mr. Hers. Appreciate it.
You gave somebody else an extra
Sure, I
minute.
did. Thank you.
Okay, so you're doing selective enforcement now?
I think if you got to your point, not took shots at our city manager who's leaving, I would probably let you continue. But
Well, I'm not
since
saying-
you already it's pre-written, I'm pretty sure you could have timed it out and gotten to your point faster, but you had to add in all your insults. Your time
I'm not
is up.
mentioning
Thank
anything
you,
about
Mr.
the city
Hers.
manager for the rest of the time. So
Thank
you're
you,
going to
Mr.
have
Hers.
selective enforcement?
Thank you, Mr. Hers.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Hers.
Fine, you can do that. You're the mayor.
I know. Thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay. Anyone online? Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Need a motion, Bill?
No. We're not quite there. Appreciate that, though. Can we get an answer to Mr. Goldman's question regarding the insurance increase that we have?
So not only are we going to see an increase in our premiums this year, but based off of experience and being self-insured, we expect that we're also going to see increases not only in our premiums, but in our claims as well.
Okay. Is that consistent to what we've seen in previous years, or is that just a trend that we've seen lately?
It's always going to trend up. This year is pretty significant, and being self-insured, it really kind of depends on your experience, you know. So when you have they call catastrophic claims, you're going to see an increase.
Okay. So it's really because we're self-insured that, and based on what we've got lined up for this year that we're gonna have to pay out is
Yeah.
why it's gone up significantly
Yes.
this year.
Yes.
Is that anticipated to be continued on in the following years?
No, because as some of these claims come off, that it should go back to a normal rate.
Unless we have another catastrophic claim that comes up.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And when it comes to stormwater projects, stuff like that, that doesn't come out of the general fund. That's funded through our stormwater fund.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. You know, I think we all agree that we would love to see Dixie Highway changed and done. And it's interesting that people say they want major developments along there, but keep in mind, that's all privately owned. So we can bring the horse to water, but if the residents there who own it, and FDOT did, quite frankly, Deerfield Beach a disservice decades ago when they ran that Dixie Highway through. A lot of those properties, if you look at those block sizes, you might have a really small block there. It's got 4 or 5 different owners on it, on a really small block size, not your traditional Florida block sizes. So to get 5 people who own that little sliver to try to get greed where you can make any kind of meaningful development, it's always been a challenge. There seems to be a mentality that they can rent it out, similar to what Baltimore waterfront has done in areas like that. But quite frankly, that Dixie Highway area is not the Baltimore waterfront. So a developer is going to come in, they're going to want to buy it, clean out. They don't want to rent it from somebody and let them continue perpetually to make money off it. A developer, a good developer, is unfortunately going to want to come in there and make the best move for themselves, and which is to buy the property. And a lot of those property owners simply won't budge. It's been a real source of frustration for us to try to do that, but I certainly understand that. But also keep in mind, we can't have a Goldilocks approach when it comes to development, because I seem to hear we want economic development in a push, and I've been here long enough to see it ebb and flow over the years. We don't have enough development. We have enough development. The minute we get a new development project in, we have people like yourself and others who say we don't want it. Okay, well, is it too hot, too cold? Where is it? Getting a developer to come in just right is very difficult, and that's what we try to do. So I can understand that. And there's a reason why we suggest, well, before I get to that, there's another point. As far as the $1 million in sand, I know there's a big sand pile there. That was free sand that was given to us. I don't know if it's valued at $1 million. If it is, everybody get their shovels. We'll run over there tonight and we can go ahead and see if we can put a nip in this. But I don't know where you came up with that number, Mr. Freitag, but I'll talk to you about that later, Roger. Thank you. As far as the travel, I think that's what was budgeted. I don't know if that was spent. And I think that was for when we go to Tallahassee, DC, and all those places where we go up there to try to fight to get our, get a break from the government and getting us some of the bonds, some of the different things that we request money on the federal and state level. I believe, is that correct, City Manager?
That's correct, Mayor.
Okay. As far as the code fines go of $118 million, that sounds extraordinarily incredible, but it is pretty much standard for most cities. And the reason why is because you have people that have been here forever that might have a code violation. We can't go and foreclose and take their home over a code violation. Is that correct?
If the property is homesteaded, that's correct.
That's right. So you have houses in an area that has a ton of fines that are piled up. And until that house sells, and keep in mind, we have a lot of multi-generational families that have been here for we're closing on 100 years. We've got some that have been there, and those houses haven't changed hands. Not that the houses are 100 years old, but a lot of those properties and those code violations have piled up over the years. And if it's recurring, say you're going to be fined $100 a day till it's fixed, it hasn't been fixed in 20-something years, that adds up. So we can't go in and foreclose on people if they're homesteaded. So that is a problem. So it's a little misleading, but it is frustrating, and your point's well taken on that. Correct me if I'm wrong. So our millage rate's actually going down a little bit. If your property value, if your value of your home, your assessed value has not gone up at all, would you be taxed the same from the city of Deerfield Beach just on your millage rate?
If your taxable value did not increase based on the city's millage rate, your taxes would not increase.
Okay. So if you see an increase in your taxes based on our millage rate, it's because your property value went up. And you know, Mr. Herz, you were a candidate, you attempted to run for office. You have 5 properties in the city. They're not homesteaded. That's your investment properties that you have here, including the one you live at. The total for the city of Deerfield Beach of those 5 properties increase that this is representing, keeping in mind that the only reason it increases is because you've had an increase in your value, is a whopping $87.90 out of 5 properties. The vitriol that I get up here from you over $87 is fascinating to me. We brought up Delray Beach, and I'll tell you guys why they bring up Delray. Last time they said, well, Delray Beach is lowering their millage rate, and that was pretty well advertised because they did. And it was interesting in what they had to do to get a small decrease in their millage rate. They went from 6.36 to 5.90. Now, what the hell does that mean? That's what the percentage of their millage, that's what their millage rate meant. It's about a 6.8% decrease. To do that, that saved the average homeowner in Delray Beach, whose value of their home was $600,000. And if you know Delray Beach, some are a lot more than that. Some are a lot less than that. Their total whopping savings for the year was $67. $67 on that. Not a lot for the year, keep in mind. Now, what does that mean that they had to do to get there? And here's why I put it on, what do you want to see cut? And because we all know inflation, we all know our costs have gone up. We saw what our insurance rates have gone up to. We're facing what everybody else is. Nobody comes to my house and say, I cannot believe you're spending this much money on bread. I need bread. Sorry, cost of bread has gone up. That's what it does to run a city. But in Delray, and I point this out because when Mr. Hurst brought this up before and he's conveniently left it out of his conversation tonight, is because what he didn't mention was the fact that they were going from a 3-man rescue to a 2-man rescue in the fire department. They were going to have to cut their police budget down, which meant less calls and less service on their equipment there. Parks and Rec were going to have to cut their events, I believe, in half is what was talked about in the Sun Sentinel and Palm Beach Post article. I also noticed that their proposal was to charge non-residents to park at their beach $35 an hour, or $35, I believe it was, a day. I'm pretty sure if we did that in Deerfield Beach, we'd be hearing that from our businesses over on the beach. I'm sure some of our residents would love that so they could have a parking space, but I can tell you taking away those tourist dollars from people that were from out of town would be problematic. So to get to that percentage point, let's say we cut something out of the budget. And one big ticket item I saw floating around out there in my mind that I looked at, $500,000 for a showmobile. Gosh, that sounds like an awful lot. Let's get rid of it. Why do we need that? Think about every event you've gone to on the beach or anywhere else in the city. Where does the band play on? Where do the kids perform on? Where do they dance on? That's showmobile. We don't do it every year. We don't do it every 2 years. When was the last time we replaced the showmobile?
Mayor, I venture to say it's been about 10 years.
Probably. I've been here a long time. I know we've done it at least once, and it's because it was falling apart. So every 10 years, we spend $500,000. It'll probably be up higher than that next time we do it because whoever makes showmobiles, Mr. Show's doing really well. But it's something that if you think, let's cut that out, that's a big impact. And you don't think it's a big impact until you go to an event and go, where's our showmobile? And then you're going to get pissed off and say, what were these idiots thinking to cut that out? Are we that cheap that we can't have it? Apparently, in some people's mind, we are that cheap. And they are that cheap because it costs a lot of money to run this town. There's a reason why this city is voted routinely one of the cheapest beach towns in Florida. And we are doing it at $100,000 less than the average assessed value in Broward County. Almost 100,000, 90,000. Well, I won't want to be accused of being lying because I'm sure I will. It's 90,000. We are doing all of this, having to pay the same amount for police and fire. We don't get a discount because our assessed value is lower. Our parks and rec equipment and programming, we don't get a discount because, hey, look, Broward County's averages, we're 90,000 less. Cut us a break. Doesn't work that way. We have to provide the same quality services that Boca Raton, Pompano Beach, Lazy Lake, everywhere else has to provide. And we have to do it behind the 8 ball at $90,000 less than the average assessed value in Broward County. If you guys know what you want to cut, For that little bit of savings, keep in mind what the impact and the ripple effect is. I've been here long enough, yes, to remember when we did lower it, and it was a fiasco. And we worked really hard to get our Fitch rating near perfect, which is where it's at. It's one step below the highest rating they could give us. 10 years ago, everybody was screaming, where is Fitch? Fitch, you guys are terrible. What are you doing with our credit rating? Now it's incredible, and I don't see all the T-shirts that say Fitch on them that were out here 10 years ago. I don't know. It's one good thing about being up here almost 16 years is I've seen it all, including Mr. Hers driving up from Plantation, asking us to reduce our lease rate for his investment property because our prime went down for that year. That's the kind of thing that I kind of shake my head out a little bit. But if you guys have ideas and what you'd like to see cut, we've got another shot at this next time. Please let us know, and I'd appreciate that. I think we've answered all the questions. Is that it? I think so. We have discussion. Commissioner Preston, you have a line?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to address Mr. Freitag's comments about the code. Reaching out to other cities, the code violation in other cities is actually, some of them are higher. It's a lot of money that just sits there and sits there and sits there. So, I mean, how do you begin to recover that money? You just can't force people to pay it or threaten to take their homes. That's against the law. You can't do that. Mr. Brimlow is the only person that I've heard come up with an idea of how we can begin to secure some of that money. And he brought up an amnesty program that has been used by other cities. Other than that, it just sits there on the books, people not paying. That was a way for us that I think that we should pursue. I think we need to get busy with that to get some of that money back. That's the only way. Other than that, it just sits there and it accrues. It gets higher and higher and higher. And so even though if it just sits there, I see your reaction. Well, what do? Do you force them out of their home, which is against the law? You can't do that. So I say, look at the amnesty program that can be implemented to be able to retrieve some of that money. And that's what we need to do. You know, because you're right, actually, we need to get some of that money back. Absolutely. So.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Drosky.
Thank you, Mayor. I know we've been talking for what, an hour and a half now, hour and 45, hour and a half with respect to the budget. I want to thank the city manager and staff for a very detailed presentation. I mean, tonight was not our first rodeo. We started this in June with 2 budget workshops. We had a budget presentation, a budget workshop. So this is about the 5th time this has been teed up for us. So there's been some input along the way. I'd like to kind of characterize this budget as the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the good is, and you saw in the presentation, is our upcoming centennial presentation. You know, the city turns 100 years old next year. And I think we need to celebrate it and celebrate it loud. It doesn't happen very often, obviously. And so that is something that I've always been in favor of. The landscaping, I think, is a no-brainer as well. I mean, I think if you've driven Powerline Road, Federal Highway, Hillsborough Boulevard, you've seen the upgrades to our medians. That's low-hanging fruit, as the mayor says, that we can upgrade the look from our city. You used to be able to tell on Powerline Road when you were in Boca and when you were in Deerfield Beach. And now not so much. And in fact, I would gather to say that the Deerfield Beach side looks better than Boca Raton, but we still have a ways to go. And as a quick aside, you know, not all the medians are controlled by the city of Deerfield Beach. Some of the medians are the county, some of them are the city, some of them are the state, some of them are actually private. So to say, hey, why is this one being maintained and that one not being maintained? Well, there could be a reason for it. If you go to Hillsborough Boulevard and I-95, those medians look like, well, without using the profanity I was going to use, they look bad. And there's a reason for it, because Home Depot is supposed to take care of those medians. Home Depot, which has the plant material to do it, not doing it. So we need to hold them accountable going forward. So the landscaping, the centennial budget, those are the good things that we have in our budget. The bad, is what we don't have any control over. The police and fire, public safety, everybody is in favor of police and fire. And we're going to talk about more of that in a second. Police and fire, 60% of our budget, 60% of our budget. Health insurance, property insurance, those are numbers we don't have any control over. Just like your property and health insurance is going up, my health insurance and my property insurance is going up, the city's health insurance and property insurance is going up. That's the bad. Here's the ugly. I said at the last meeting that I was going to go out and talk to the residents during the last meeting and this meeting to talk about the budget like I do every year. And this year I kind of went above and beyond. And not only did I go to District 4, but I went to all of the districts, to organizations, civic organizations, homeowners associations, just individuals, you name it. I talked to more residents than I can. I wish I would have counted because I can't, but it's a very high number. And all of them, because the mayor was saying, what services would you want to cut from our budget? And I think the residents, for the value that they pay, get really good services here in the city of Deerfield Beach. We have some of the cleanest water, if not the cleanest water, in all of Broward County. We have some of the most spectacular parks around. The splash pad at Sullivan Park, the Arboretum, which probably is a hidden gem in our city. But they're not free. These all things cost money. The residents love the services that we have in the city, and they strongly support public safety. They want to know when they pick up the phone that an ambulance or a police officer is going to come to their house. That's just simple. Talk to your neighbors. I did it. This is what I hear. What I also hear, though, is that, and it was on the slides, we have a lot more condominiums than we do single family in the city of Deerfield Beach. And if you looked at the slide, most cities, it's the inverse of that. There are some cities, Hollywood, Pompano, Fort Lauderdale, that also have a lot of condominiums, but those cities are likewise much larger than ours as well. And those residents in the condominiums from west to east are very concerned with the Surfside legislation and the increase that's going to be on their assessments. It's real. There are thousands. Look at MLS. There are thousands of units on the market in Broward, in Miami-Dade counties, because homeowners can't afford their condominium assessments anymore. And they don't want to go into foreclosure. It's a reality, and it's out there, and it's real. And in fact, if you looked at the news today, Governor DeSantis wants the legislature to meet and immediately address the condominium assessment crisis, as he calls it. That was in today's news. I saw the headline. So given that we have a large number of condominiums in our city, I don't want to fall into that trap that the other cities are. And maybe we need a little bit more relief than what we're giving here in this particular budget, because even a small increase to those that are on the limited budget could make a big difference. So this budget holds the line, but we're kind of threading that needle between the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the other thing is that we're adding 7 new positions in this budget. We have 435 employees in the city of Deerfield Beach, 435. That's a lot to me. I'm not really too eager to bloat the bureaucracy any more than it is, to be honest with you. We had the 2 budget meetings back in June. I sat and I listened for 3 hours each night. And there really wasn't a lot of justification for those 7 positions. In fact, there was none. What those positions could do to help the various departments. It's like, hey, we want the positions, but no one gave me the data, told me why it would be better. So I'm not really in favor of adding to the budget either on those positions when I'm not sure we had the justification for it, at least to my satisfaction. There was, in all fairness, there was an attempt after those meetings to justify the positions, but that's a little too late, in my opinion. So we've got the good, the bad, and the ugly with this budget. But in any event, there's a lot of work that goes into it by staff to put this all together and to make the presentation. They start in January, if not earlier, and they keep going year round on this budget. So it's through no fault of their own. Nothing is personal. But I listened to the residents of this city, and I think it's very clear. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay. City Manager, before we look for a motion, can you, one question wasn't answered regarding, I know it was answered during our mini budget workshops, but the positions for ocean rescue, as far as why we're changing those hours on that and eliminating the part-time and
Yeah.
going with the different hours.
Yeah, so for that, we've been talking about going to 10-hour shifts for a while. And this is going to accomplish that. And one of the things that we recently unfortunately saw when we had guards off duty was we had a drowning. Yeah, very unfortunate. And so we want to go to 10-hour shifts. It's time. There's more and more people out there after 5 p.m. And so that this will accomplish that.
Okay, thank you.
Ready for a motion?
Sure.
Motion to approve number 5,
We're on number 6 is the millage rate.
number 6.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Parnas, seconded by Commissioner Preston. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Hudak? Commissioner Parnas?
Yes.
Commissioner Preston?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Drosky?
No.
Mayor Gantz?
Yes.
We're at item number 7, which is the budget.
Okay. City Manager, any other? Okay. Anyone from the public care comment about the budget?
Dan Hurst, 330 Southeast 19th Avenue. I know the mayor can't really believe that I am bringing up property taxes to save a few dollars on my rental properties. I thank God I'm well off enough financially that saving a few $100s a year won't affect my life. But there are thousands of seniors and fixed income residents of this city that could use an extra $100 in their pockets instead of in the city manager's pocket. There are so many items left out or poorly explained in the 25 fiscal budget that I know I won't be able to mention them all in the time allotted, but here goes. I thought there was discussion of bringing code enforcement in-house and getting rid of Calvin Giordano and Associates. How much will this cost? If we keep CGA, they will charge 40% more than the expiring contract. Isn't the $6.5 million FAU property land sale supposed to close in the next fiscal year? The economic development director said months ago she had great plans on how to spend this money. Where is the provision hidden in the budget for how many millions the city will be forced to pay the retired police officers for withholding their medical insurance premium payments illegally? Where is the mention other than a few words about the millions the city will have to pay out to keep the retired firemen's pension plan solvent? Why didn't the city manager mention the city has had to pay out $15 million over the last 2 fiscal years that we have data on? Why do the commissioners not look into what can be done about this instead of sticking their heads in the sand and saying this is a taboo subject? Why don't you ask your 2 board representatives what goes on at the quarterly fire pension board meeting? If you did ask, you would have found out what taxpayers Joe Hines and I found out. The fire pension board has had the same investment advisor for the last 25 years, Burgess Chambers, and RFPs for an investment advisor are never done. His advice and performance to the pension board has resulted in the 150 million pension accounts significantly underperforming many well-known stock indexes like the S&P 500. This poor performance not only affects Deerfield Beach taxpayers, but also the retired firemen themselves. But the 5 of you and the city manager cannot be bothered discussing a $7.5 million annual expense. Better to hide it in the budget where nobody can see it. And finally, where are you showing the added income to the city for coffee and cappuccino sales and refills starting January 1st, when the seniors at the Center for Active Aging will once again have to pay for their own coffee and cappuccino? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone online? Anyone else? Okay, I'm gonna close it to the public then. City Manager, can you answer a couple of those questions? I know code enforcement, their contract's not up yet, so that doesn't affect this budget. Is that correct?
No, that'll be next year. I mean, we did talk about some adjustments to code enforcement services, but the actual decision related to the contract is going to need to be made early in the next fiscal year so that we can implement by the end of this upcoming fiscal year.
Okay. I don't know. I would imagine both of you probably have a little better handle on what they're talking about with the police officers plan. We know that we're dealing with that and that, but I don't think millions of dollars is an accurate representation. Is that?
Not at this point. We are going to meet with them for mediation later this month.
Yeah, and I think this has been well covered that the retired firefighters plan, we are allowed 2 seats at the board. I believe it is 2 or 3 seats. How many are we allowed at this table?
Two seats.
We have no control over what they decide to do. It's their pension. We just have 2 seats on there. That decision was made around 2002 to go to a defined pension program for them. We're on the hook for that, whether we like it or not. If you want to go back and look up some of those elected officials there who decided to give it to them, you can find them. They're still here. Matter of fact, I think you guys supported one of them to run against me one time. So they're probably easy to find. Ask them why they did that. I would love to know. But we're on the hook for that, and we can't get away from that. And we've been hearing about the pension tsunami from Mr. Hines, at least for probably the 14 to 16 years I've been here. I'm still waiting for that tsunami. It is a ridiculous amount of money, and it's an unfortunate thing, but it is something that we're tied and required to pay. So we cannot get out of that, unfortunately. I think that's it. I think probably the coffee may be covered by other people who have made donations. I know there was another person that donated $5,000. She didn't give a big check, so there wasn't a lot of fanfare, but she donated $5,000 for it. I think Commissioner Hudak donated $4,500 to the center. I'm sure some of that could probably be used for coffee, but that's a good point, though. Thank you. We should probably make sure that we have that covered rather than get through that again this year. Anyone? Okay.
Yeah.
For a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Preston, seconded by Commissioner Parnas. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Hudak? Commissioner Parnas?
Yes.
Commissioner Preston?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Drosky?
No.
Mayor Gantz?
Yes.
Item number 8 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving the budget for the Deerfield Beach Community Redevelopment Agency for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2024 and ending September 30th, 2025, providing for funding through tax increment financing as provided for in Part 3, Chapter 163 Florida statutes, providing for severability and an effective date. This is first reading.
Mayor, you did adopt the board, the CRA board adopted a resolution passing the budget. This is required to be now passed by the City Commission.
Okay. Thank you. Are we going to have any presentations, or are we just going to say with it?
No,
we've covered it all in the CRA and other
Correct,
budget
correct.
workshops. Okay. Is there anyone from the public here to comment on our CRA budget?
Dan Hers, 330 Southeast 19th Avenue. There is a serious question that must be answered in the 2025 CRA budget. There is an expense of $771,000 with a description of programming, consulting, contracts. That is a very big number. The taxpayer's only clue as to what this expense may be all about is that it appears a couple lines below the $8,129,672 expense line for construction of the new Sawgrass to Seagrass Museum, or whatever new name the CRA director decides to give it. Is this almost $800,000 large taxpayer expense number have anything to do with the potential annual operating expense number that the city will be on the hook for in order to operate the new museum? Wow, the taxpayers certainly hope that this is not the case because this kind of potential operating expense number was never disclosed to the CRA board by the CRA director when she was trying to sell this whole museum idea to the CRA board when seeking their approval. And if I am wrong, could the CRA director give the taxpayers just a little more detail as to what this $771,000 expense is all about, other than 3 words: programming, consulting, contracts? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? No? City manager, would you like the CRA director or somebody to address that? I
Yeah,
know it was covered in our CRA meeting, but we'll go into detail again.
yeah, yep.
Thank you. Chris Maury, Director of Economic Development. The line item that Mr. Hers is referring to is actually money that the board has not established a use for yet. So with the center, we still have upcoming expenses as it relates to our memorandum of understanding with the Museum of Discovery and Science, and potential funding of interior build out of the facility. So those are upcoming expenses. They haven't been finalized yet, and those are items that will come back to the board for approval as those contracts are defined.
Okay, so that is a catch-all. Is that look to be a recurring cost? And is the overall cost of running that operation something that we're going to be paying for in the future?
Absolutely not. We don't know what the ongoing operational cost of the facility is yet. We
Okay.
don't know.
Right, but the Museum of Science is supposed to be covering that and take care of that for us.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. I think some of the concerns, it's interesting, like having been here a long time, I remember when people were upset with us moving forward with Sullivan Park and spending that money. And I think this is a similar type of project that I think is going to be, if you look at what Sullivan Park is compared to what it was, I think most people are pretty damn happy with it. I can't please everyone, and here's the one thing, keep in mind about the CRA. The CRA is about a third of that budget is really coming out of Deerfield Beach's pocket. It's 2/3 of it would be going to the school board in Broward County if it wasn't for the CRA. So basically, when the CRA was established, it froze whatever the values were at that time and said any money that you make on any values that go up from back in 2009 to now, 2009, I get that right? 1999, 2000, because it's about to sunset. Any values there, that's what makes up your CRA budget. So it's all about CRA increasing values in that area and using the money above and beyond what was there established on December 31st, 1999. All that money would normally go, a third of it would go to Broward County approximately, a third of it would go to the school board, and we would keep a third of it. I got 3/3, right? I want to make sure. So that's the way it would work. So keep in mind, whenever we spend anything in the CRA, it's really using about a third of what we would normally spend on something. Doesn't mean we should overspend, but it just means that we're actually getting good bang for our bucks. So CRAs are worthwhile in that area. Should it have been established in another area? In my opinion, yes, or at least we should have had 2, but it is what it is. And that was done a long time ago, but thank you for clarifying that. Commissioner Preston, motion?
Before I make that motion, I just want to say to the public, that this commission board takes every penny that it spends seriously. And it's not looked at just from one perspective. Actually, there's a multiplicity of ways that we look to save you money, because we realize that you, the taxpayers, pay for this. So this is not, frivolous budget that comes in front of you. There's accountability. But this commission cares about what goes on. And also to my colleagues, I like to say, Commissioner Drosky, you're one of the ones that said, we need to go big. I've heard you say that more than one time. Well, you can't order a steak and want to pay for it with hamburger money. Okay, that's not going to happen. So, when they do it, these things cost. Okay, if you say, let's go small, let's do that. Let's do that. But if you're going to go big, it costs. It costs money. And you know what? All the costs that we have here that you see in front of you, I will guarantee you the next time you see the budget, it's going to go up. Nothing. Tell me what's going down as far as this country is concerned. In the United States of America, where are we seeing tremendous drops? Things go up. In every store, things go up. That's just what happens. That's just what happens. What were you paying for some of the things that you buy, some of the items that you purchase? What were you paying 10 years ago? What are you paying now? And if you think that whatever you're paying now, you're going to be paying the same thing in the next 5 years, I can tell you, Mr. Snuffleupagus, it's not real either. No. So I'm going to tell you, it costs. There is a cost. But this commission guards that cost. Okay, and I think sometimes even to a fault, but they do. So it is not a people up here not paying attention to what the residents is investing. Your investment is important, but you have to know that whatever the cost is that you're paying for, that you embrace, that you actually appreciate, it's not going to be the same cost in the next 5 years. It's just not going to be. And if there is a way that you can tell me it's going to be the same in the next 5, 10 years, please tell me. Please tell me, because then we need you to be the city manager.
Is that a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Motion from Commissioner Preston,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Parnas. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Hudak, Commissioner Parnas,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Drosky,
Yes.
Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
Item number 9 is a resolution of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, relating to the provision of fire rescue services, facilities, and programs in the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, confirming the preliminary rate resolution, reimposing fire rescue assessments against assessed property located within the City of Deerfield Beach for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2024, approving the rate of assessment, approving the assessment roll, and providing an effective date.
Mayor, Commissioners, this presentation was given when the preliminary rate resolution was initially adopted and discussed in the budget, so I'll move through this rather quickly. The fire assessment fee was established back in 1971. It's a revenue source to offset the fire-related costs. Non-EMS costs are not included. The costs are allocated based on individual parcels and not individuals. It's a flat fee. It's not based on a millage rate. So the higher the value of the property, the higher the ad valorem taxes. That's not the way this works. It's a flat fee. The assessments are based off of categories. So you have various categories like residential, institutional, those various things. And in the institutional category, there's typically exemptions for non-governmental nonprofits, churches, things of that nature. And the City of Deerfield Beach does that as well. We have the ability to assess up to the 100% of the cost for each category of use. And the City of Deerfield Beach does not. Just some background, we initially completed a rate and implemented the fee back in 2002. Categories established for a buy down, which is the government facilities and the religious institutions that we talked about. Subsequent studies are necessary approximately every 5 years to keep the information current. And at this current time, when we did the last study in 2022, the full assessment was $372. I think I said 374, so I was off. I apologize for that. At that time, the City Commission adopted a rate of $295, which was at 79%. And FY23, the Commission adopted a rate of $315 at 84%. Things, again, we talked a little bit about was not included in the study that was conducted in 22 was that legislative action to increase the employer pension contribution. That was an initial one-time hit and continues on of about $1 million. Also, the public safety master plan and the outcome of that, as well as the increase that we've seen in the cost of various apparatus. We saw $2 million for the platform and of course, considerations of staffing like the executive officer. Next slide, please. Want to just show what the current 2024 rates are for all participating Broward County municipalities in Broward County. The average fee in the county is $360. If we look at cities of similar size to the city of Deerfield Beach, in FY24, the average fee is $371. That's current year. We're not talking about FY25 yet. Going into FY25, the average fire assessment fee for a single-family home is going to be $391 across the county. And when you look at cities of similar population to us, that average fee in FY25 will be $408. When you talk about the total cost of fire services, it's $23.4 million. The current rate provides revenues of $17.5 million, providing a gap. And what we mean by gap is if you charge the 100% fire assessment fee of $372 of $5.9 million, which is equivalent to about 0.5529 in the millage. And then what's been adopted on first reading is the 325. It provides revenues of $17.9 million, reduces that millage gap to 5.5, and is an annual increase on a residential unit of $10 for the year. So just as a reminder, on July 9th, we had the adoption of the preliminary rate fire assessment at 325. This was also included in the budget recommendation that was provided to you by August 15th. On August 20th, Broward County Property Appraiser distributed the trim notices with that preliminary rate resolution information of 325. So that is what is on everybody's trim notice right now. We did do the workshop on August 28th, which brings us to today, September 9th, which was the public hearing and the final adoption of the preliminary rates. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to address any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions before I open to the public? No. I just want to say this, so your proposal is $10 more than it was last year.
That's correct.
And that's what we hit every resident across the board. That's the one equalizer that we have, that every resident gets hit with that same amount.
Correct.
Okay. The only thing about that is that that's not how it applies to commercial properties. It's based on square footage, right?
That's correct.
So I want to remind my colleagues that $10 doesn't seem like a lot. And we talk about this small amount that people are all up in arms about their increase, but $10 is not a lot to an individual resident, but that $10 difference on square footage for commercial properties is huge. It's a lot bigger than what you realize. I say huge. It's big. It's bigger than $10. And, it hits differently. I'll say that. So I don't support increasing it by $10. So I'll just start out the conversation with that. Okay. Thank you. Anyone from the public care to comment on this item?
Dan Hers, 330 Southeast 19th Avenue. I apologize, but in 1971, I wasn't following the city of Deerfield Beach that closely from Chicago. So could you, somebody tell us what did this fee originally start out at? And also, what percentage of the total cost was Deerfield Beach picking up when first starting to charge the taxpayers? Because now the city is only paying 17% of the total cost. I think what the taxpayers would be most interested in is historically what percentage of the total cost was Deerfield Beach paying for? Because as I just said, now it's only 17% of the total cost. And my second question just really requires a yes or no answer because I just want to make sure. I mentioned previously about the $7.5 million that the city has to pay the last 2 fiscal years each. Is that expense included in the overall number that the city manager just gave when he was discussing this ordinance? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? No? Yes, sir. Mr. Freitag.
Roger Freitag, 418 Southeast Second Street, Deerfield Beach, Florida. I'm just curious, I just overheard the mayor say that businesses pay by the square foot. You know what? That's why they're in business, and we all know it's a trickle down. They'll just increase their rates, and the people who come visit those commercial areas, they will be the one paying, not homeowners.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Close it to the public. That is true, the visitors will pay, but you will also, if you're going to this business. They raise the rate, they're not going to say you're a non-resident or a resident. They're going to hit you sideways, no matter what it is. But understood your point. I believe the point about the fire system in 1971 was established by law that municipalities were allowed to do that. Is that correct? Not the city of Deerfield Beach didn't do it in 71.
You're correct, Mayor. And I showed in the presentation that the city didn't adopt it until 2002.
Thank you. I thought that's what I saw in the presentation. And in 2002, I think, what was the rate? $75, I think, 100?
I don't have that information, but
Yeah.
I'm sure it was less than $100.
You know, when someone says taxpayers, I'm going to say that individual wants it. If that individual wants that information, feel free to request it and we'll get that for you to take a look at it. The bottom line is whether it's in your tax bill or it's in your fire assessment fee, you're paying for it. So if you want it nice and neat, hit every single resident. If you're so worried about $12 or $60 to a family who is hurting, I'm pretty sure that if you were to increase that to a full 100%, as opposed to spreading it out the way we do it, I think that would be a harder hit. But you know, we do take care of people that there are some people that don't pay taxes at all in the city of Deerfield Beach. A lot of people that don't pay taxes at all. If you're elderly, you have a lot of veteran, different things like that. If you look at some of the assessments, there is $0 amount. This is the one thing they would have to pay. That is the one equalizer across the board for people that have that. I remember last year we had a gentleman who was outraged that his tax bill, I think, went up from $38 to $41 for the year. And he even said it with a smile because he realized he was being ridiculous, but he still was outraged by it. But the fire assessment, he paid it just like everybody else, whether you're $1 million mansion or you're living in Century Village in a 1-bedroom. That's the way it is. Commissioner Preston.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an example of what I was just talking about over the years. We're talking about something that began in 2002, under $100, and now we're at $325 being posed tonight. And actually, that's not really where we need to be. But taking this into account, I'd like to make a motion now that we leave it the same. I'm not for raising it. So my motion is to leave it the same as it was before. That's the motion.
Pass the gavel to second the motion. I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion amongst my colleagues?
I'll second.
Third.
And just for clarification before you vote, so your motion is to approve the resolution, however, with the $315 rate?
That is correct.
And the second?
Yes.
Seconded by them. Motion by Commissioner Preston, seconded by the mayor. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Hudak? Commissioner Parnas?
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Drosky,
Yes.
Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
Item number 10 is a resolution of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, relating to the provision of stormwater management services and collection of stormwater utility assessments, providing authority, definitions, and interpretation, confirming the preliminary assessment resolution for stormwater assessments, imposing stormwater service assessments against certain property in Deerfield Beach, Florida, for the fiscal year commencing October 1, 2024, approving their assessment role, providing for collection, providing for conflicts, severability, and an effective date.
Okay, so back on December 6, 2022, the City Commission adopted a stormwater utility program. And with that, there was an adoption of a 5-year funding strategy and rate structure to address the stormwater needs in the city. That strategy is seen below as a monthly stormwater fee schedule for FY23 through FY28. The funding includes operations, maintenance, and all the capital projects that we discussed earlier this evening. At the time that it was adopted, the City Commission made the determination to keep it within the utility billing payment mechanism. So the stormwater fee was showing up on the water bill. And you can go to the next slide, please. And then on November 14th, 2023, the Commission moved forward with changing the billing methodology from the utility bill to a non-ad valorem tax. So this will now appear on the tax roll, and it will no longer appear on a water bill. And at the time of November 14th, 2023, when this was adopted, we talked about the pros and cons and those sorts of matters about why that we thought that was beneficial. And so that this is going to be the first year that that's showing up on the tax bill. We did go ahead and do public outreach about this change through the utility bills, the website, social media. Of course, it did show up on the trim notification that went out to each individual property owner. And here we are today at that public hearing, September 9th, for adoption of the rate. Now, if we did not move forward with moving this to the non-ad valorem tax, we would not need to be here today because the City Commission already adopted a resolution adopting the fee schedule. But because this will show up on the property tax bill, it requires this particular action. So the timeline for the non-ad valorem, back on October 17th through November 7th, we did do the public notification in 2 newspapers that we were required to do. On November 14th, we had the City Commission meeting to consider migrating that over to the non-ad valorem assessment. On December 31st, city staff notified BCPA of our intent to do so and have that become effective on October 2024. In February 2024, we adopted an ILA with Broward County. That was another commission action that was required in order to place this on the non-ad valorem assessment. And then July 9th was the date that we did the adoption of the preliminary rate roll for transmission to the county on the trim notice. Again, we're here today. On October 1st, 2024, this will be discontinued from the utility bill, and it will be on the non-ad valorem tax bill. So the recommendation is for Commission to adopt that stormwater assessment roll that was adopted on first reading.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone from the public here to comment on this item?
Roger Freitag, 418 Southeast 2nd Street, Deerfield Beach, Florida. I have one question. Is the reason why we're moving this to better help the city of Deerfield Beach so the money comes straight to Deerfield Beach as opposed to Broward County and then they give us a share? I'm just trying to understand the whole methodology behind why we're doing this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dan Hurst, 330 Southeast 19th Avenue. I promise to be very quick on this one. When the city hired Sawyer I think it was Sawyer Consulting to implement this. I guess it was way back in 2018. Sawyer came up with the figure that a condo in Deerfield Beach should pay 43% of what a single family home pays. And I never quite understood that, because if you have two small condos, I couldn't understand how they're having the same effect with stormwater runoff, et cetera, that a single family home costs. So if there's any way to maybe tell the taxpayers how they came up with that 43%. And then the other thing is just a real small thing that I can't figure out. I saw that the increase for this fiscal 25 in stormwater is only 14 cents. But then in 2026, the cost goes up almost a full $1. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to close to the public. Mr. Santucci, can you answer some of those questions, please?
So to answer the question as to why this move, there's many reasons, but to summarize, there are benefits to the city and the residents, especially those that are homesteaded and have mortgages. So for one, it's just a movement of that payment from the utility bill to your mortgage payment, because typically you're going to have an escrow, and that's going to be calculated in the escrow. So the monthly payment isn't really going to have an impact on the resident who is homesteaded and has a mortgage and has an escrow. Additionally, it is problematic from the perspective of half of our water utility customers, or not half, but more than half of them are on the city's water, but there are also a great deal of residents in the city of Deerfield Beach who are on the county's water system and get billed by the county. The payment mechanism that we have to go through with the county to get that accurate is arduous and difficult and very costly. So there were efficiencies that we were able to gain by removing Broward County water and wastewater billing services from this particular bill that was on that utility bill. So there were some additional reasons. I'm happy to provide Mr. Freitag with the presentation. I think we might even have it on the website, but I can provide him the full list of the pros and cons that we provided at that time back in 2023.
Thank you. And the other question with the 43%?
Sure. It's based off an ERU calculation, and I really can't tell you where the 43% comes from, but it's required to be legally sufficient in terms of the charges for an ERU, which is a single family home, and then for a condo as well. So if Mr. Hers was willing to call staff, could certainly provide him with that information and get into more detail.
Thank you. Commission? Thank you, Commissioner Hudak.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hudak overseas and Commissioner Preston. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hudak? Commissioner Parnas?
Yes.
Commissioner Preston?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Drosky?
No.
Mayor Gans?
Yes.
Item 11 is a resolution of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, relating to the collection of nuisance abatement services assessments, adopting findings of fact, approving the rate of assessment for each affected property, adopting the assessment roll, providing for notice, and providing an effective date.
Mr. Brimlow, you coming down for presentation?
I'll try to
Okay.
I'll try to summarize this, Mayor. So when a property is in non-compliance, non-homesteaded property, to the point in which they have had code violations, then they have gone before the magistrate, they have been fined. It gets to the point where we can go ahead and put those uncollected fines on the tax roll of that particular property. And so the properties here in this agenda item are ones that have gotten to that point. And we do this every year. Some of the names actually may look familiar to you.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone from the public care to comment on this item? No, I'm going to close it to the public then. Commission.
Motion to approve.
Second,
We have a motion from Commissioner Preston, second by Commissioner Parnest. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Hudak? Commissioner Parnes?
yes.
Commissioner Preston?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Drosky?
Yes.
Mayor Gans?
Yes.
Item number 12 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 50 Parks and Recreation, Article 5, Rules and Regulations, Section 50-104, Use of Community Centers and Other Buildings of the City Code of Ordinances to allow the consumption of alcoholic beverages within the Johnny L. Tigner Center, subject to conditions, providing for conflicts, severability, codification, and effective date. This is second reading.
Commission, any further comments on this?
No.
Okay, anyone from the public care to comment on this item?
Roger Freitag, 418 Southeast Second Street, Deerfield Beach, Florida. I think this is an absolutely fantastic idea, and I hope every building in the city of Deerfield Beach should be allowed to do this, including City Hall. Thank you.
Amen.
There's a question.
Yeah, I'm sorry, your name and address for the record, ma'am.
Flor Rojas, 1420 Southeast 10th Street, Deerfield Beach. Just a question there. When we allow to have the consumption in the centers, do you think the liability is going to increase, like poison or people fail the liquids, and has been contemplated that option to, I don't know, when they rent it out or whatever?
Sure, no
where it
problem.
comes
We'll get you an answer. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, former representative, go ahead.
Thank you. Gwen Clark Reed, 1430 Southwest 6th Way, Deerfield Beach. Just why are we considering this?
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Anyone? Close to the public then? Liability, can you talk about that? City Attorney?
Yeah, sure. For one, as part of our application process and the permit, they have to indemnify the city, essentially, stand in to help pay any defense costs if we get sued as a result of any of their negligent acts or any of the acts of their invitees. Additionally, we require them to have state liquor licensing, a security detail as well. So, and we generally seek insurance to the extent we can.
Thank you. And I guess the reason why is this is based on feedback we got from the public. Is that correct?
That, and if we have a 300-room ballroom, I don't think we're going to get many rentals if we don't allow alcohol on occasion.
Okay. And this is the only location we're not considering City Hall?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, Roger. Yeah.
You want a motion?
Yes.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Parnas, second by Commissioner Preston. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hudak? Commissioner Parnes?
Yes.
Commissioner Preston?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Drosky?
Yes.
Mayor Gans?
Yes.
We're now at the public comment portion of tonight's meeting. Persons addressing the commission shall state his or her name and address and may speak for 3 minutes unless extended for 1 additional minute by the mayor. This is time for public comment on items that are not on tonight's agenda. The time to comment on an item and that's on tonight's agenda is after the title is read into the record for that item and the public comment period for that item is opened. No comment shall be made related to the personal life or personal qualities of any person, and no language which would offend persons of ordinary sensibilities shall be permitted.
Thank you.
Last time, Roger Freitag, 418 Southeast 2nd Street. I just wanted all the commissioners, the mayor, city manager, and anybody else who's listening to understand that the numbers that I spoke earlier are numbers that are provided by the city of Deerfield Beach. I didn't make them up, and I just wanted to make sure that that was clarified, including the 1 million for the sand.
Thank you.
Good evening, Sandy Coyman, 602 Southeast 8th Avenue. And I'm here to talk about the 8th Avenue Drainage Improvement Project. And I have 2 concerns. 1 week before the project broke ground back in April, we were told about the scope, the schedule, and the phasing of the project. And what we've seen is the schedule and the phasing have dramatically changed for that project. And there's been all kinds of rumors about what's been going on and what's happening with the project. And I'm just here to ask that in some sense, the community, the neighborhood be apprised of the new schedule and what the new phasing is for the project. So to accomplish this, I'd suggest either having some type of neighborhood meeting or something on the city's website to let the neighborhood know really what's going on with the project, because we see lots of things happening, not quite sure what's going on. My main concern, though, is project safety. The only way I can describe the traffic signage and the safety signage is it's a disaster. There's been open trenches, open holes left over the weekend, no cones, no signage, nothing. I mean, cars could literally fall into these trenches and damage the cars. And in one case, there was one hole left over a weekend where it was about 4 feet deep, and there was these concrete basins, no cones, anything. Somebody at night could just walk in there and be really, really injured. There's sidewalks now that have all kinds of pipes and everything that at night people could just come and stumble along on them. Long story short, there's a lot of problems with tripping hazards, the safety signage. There's no sandbags on the bottoms. We have a little puff of wind. Half the signs are over. The other half of the signs have been run over by the heavy equipment and are stacked in piles on the sidewalk that you could trip over at night. So I think the contractor needs to be apprised that he needs to be more responsible about addressing safety issues. And I'd like the city staff to really closely monitor the situation and make sure it's just safety. We're really in danger of getting sued here, I guess. I just want to advise you folks of that. And so thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr.
And thank
Clement.
you for your efforts.
Mr. Clement, I have a quick question for you. You and I spoke last week. Has any staff reached out to you to set up a meeting yet?
Not yet, not yet.
Thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
thanks.
Alan Shapiro, 607 Southeast 7th Avenue, Deerfield. Just a few questions. Back in April, we were told that the trees were going to be taken out, which agree or don't agree, we understand. But now we're understanding that all they're taking are they're not taking all the palm trees. They just want the foxtails. So on 8th Avenue, they took the foxtails, but they left 6 coconut trees. And on my street, there's foxtails, but there's also other trees. So my question is, are they taking all the trees or is it just the foxtails? That's one. 2, it's a very strange thing that these foxtails are loaded up quickly and they're gone. Where are these foxtails going? And if that's the case, how much revenue did we generate for the city selling them? And the only reason I'm asking this is 2 city employees specifically said that those trees were sold. That's a concern. Thank you.
Do you know who those employees were?
No, I don't. I don't have their names. It was a banter back and forth about the project a few months ago.
Thank you.
Hey, let us.
You're next.
Dan Hurst, 330 Southeast 19th Avenue. At the last commission meeting, the District 1 commissioner brought up the idea that it was now time to form a charter review committee to potentially make changes to the charter. I was surprised to see that 3 weeks later, the forming of a charter review committee was not on tonight's agenda. I wonder why that was. Could it be because of the District 4 commissioner who said, I have a sinking suspicion this may have something to do with removing the height restrictions here in the city, because why else would you want to review the charter? Or maybe it was what the mayor said last meeting, that a charter review committee was formed in the past, usually because there were political reasons to do so. If the District 1 commissioner was telling the truth when he said he has no hidden agendas, then maybe he would care to enlighten the taxpayers as to when the forming of a charter review committee will take place. But if he is trying to be the mouthpiece for a developer or developers, it would be best for the taxpayers if the District 1 commissioner disclosed that now instead of in the future. The other major issue that taxpayers need clarification on is the District 1 commissioner's criteria for being able to join the charter review committee. His first requirement makes sense in that you must be a registered voter in Deerfield Beach. His second requirement is that a charter review committee member must be homesteaded. That is a very strange and weird requirement. Is the District 1 commissioner aware that you can be a commissioner or even the mayor of Deerfield Beach without being a homesteaded resident? I wonder why his criteria is much more harsh than the requirements to run for public office. On another note, I wanted to compliment the director of the Braithwaite Center for Active Aging, Jonathan Salas, for writing me a beautiful letter regarding my contribution to the center, enabling the seniors to have free coffee and cappuccino. Excuse me, ma'am, I'm talking.
Excuse me.
They're interrupting me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Hurst.
And
I'm
it's
sorry.
very, very disruptive.
Really? I would imagine you know about disruptions.
Yes, I
Okay,
do.
why don't we pause and we'll give Mr. Hurst his moment. Can you please refrain from comments? My apologies, Mr. Hurst, that slipped from me. I didn't hear it. Obviously, you did. Go right ahead.
Okay, I appreciate your help, Mayor. I really sincerely do. So I wanted to compliment the director of the Braithwaite Center for Active Aging, Jonathan Salas, for writing me a beautiful letter regarding my contribution to the center. He also gave me a nice shout out in the September senior newsletter, which was greatly appreciated. And thanks again to Commissioner Preston, who was the only person on the dais to thank me in a sincere fashion without having to stoop so low and give me a backhanded compliment. Thank you.
Thank you. That was worth it. Honestly, please, no comments in other words are going. We want to show each other respect if we could while someone's talking. Sir?
Dave Goldman, Southeast 7th Avenue, 517.
Thank you.
This drainage project that's going on that is for the benefit of 8th Avenue began on our corner at Southeast 7th Avenue and 5th Court at the beginning of May. We're now here in the beginning of, well into September. In our street over there, I don't know if you guys ever go over there or have ever driven down there or see what's going on at that corner between 6th and 7th Avenue. It's an absolute S-hole. And nothing's getting done. Promises made, promises made, promises made. If you ever drive down 6th Avenue, which probably none of you ever do, your car is all muddy every time you go through there. The place is, this is a disaster over there. And there's no sign of any progress. And the whole thing is, it's an absolute travesty. We don't have a drainage problem there. I've lived there 23 years. I've never had a problem. No one on my street has ever had a problem. And we're the ones suffering for this to save these people over there on 8th Avenue. So, I mean, I'd like to get some explanations, some meetings, something to get this place cleaned up. I wanted to put my house up for sale 3 months ago. You think I could do that now? If you go over there and take a look, see what, if anyone wanted to sell their house around there, good luck.
Thank you.
It's the worst of it, by the way.
Hi. My name is Stella Molnar, and I live on the corner of a 5th Court and a 6th Avenue,
I need your address, ma'am. I'm sorry.
600 Southeast 5th Court.
And you're the woman I spoke to on the phone.
Yes. and I got the worst of it. Every single day, I get this pounding, the dust, the dirt, and that's all I get from outside of my street. From my front door, that's all I see. The trucks and the pile of dirt and the concrete. I got piles of concrete on my carport that you could shovel it off daily from the dust. I'm sick. I feel like I'm prisoner in my own home because nobody can come over because both of my drivers are closed. They blocked. I'm a prisoner in my own home. I'm there 25 years and I have to live in this misery. How long is it going to take before they finish, before I'm going to be finished? Please do something. I can't take it much longer. My pool is filthy all the time. My cars are filthy all the time. Half of the times I have to wait to get out of my one driveway with the other one is completely blocked off. What is going to take for me to be freed finally? They were dug up the thing. I fell because they dug up a hole they dug up the sidewalk and I was taking the trash out in at night. And I fell in there because there was a hole dug up in the sidewalk. Nobody did nothing about it. Finally, I went and talked to the contractor to cover the hole. That's how I'm living daily for past 4 months. Is this fair for me to live like this? How long is it going to take? I never had problem. 25 years I lived there. Never had water problem. Never had flood problem. And now all of a sudden this happening to me. I'm 80 years old. I can't take this physically, mentally, and emotionally any longer. I've been to the doctors because I'm allergic to dust and I'm living in the concrete and the dust daily. Please, Mayor, do something.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
I have one question for you, if I could. Since you and I spoke, did someone come out there to at least you can go to the mic, that's okay. I'm so sorry. Happy to talk to you afterwards also, but you and I spoke on the phone. Did someone come out and try to resolve that situation after you and I spoke?
Yes, matter of fact, I just have a problem and I don't know how that's going to be solved.
Okay, well, okay, let's talk again, but I'll make sure we get this addressed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Willie Graham Bracy, 501 Northwest First Terrace, Deerfield Beach, Florida. And I have a concern. A couple of years ago, when they were going to do Johnny McKeithen Park.
I'm sorry, Ms. Bracy.
When they were going to do Johnny McKeithen Park and they were going to remodel the bathrooms too. And I'm really concerned because I see kids be over there playing on the swings sometime. And everybody's sitting on the bench. And we know a lot of predators is around now. And with the ladies' bathroom on the back side back there, and the people sitting on the benches, you cannot see the kids when they're on the back side or go in the bathroom. So I think maybe they should try putting cameras there or something to monitor those bathrooms because, you know, people grabbing kids now and running with kids. So you don't never know when something's going to happen. And then at the senior Northeast Focal Point Breakaway, it's really nice. They putting the fall precaution things in the bathroom, and over the bathroom they got the little lights to go up. Then when you go in the bathroom now, they got the knobs where you turn the knob when you lock the door. The knob will say red if it's locked, and it'll say green if it's not locked. And it's really nice because I've never seen it before. But the guy told me, he said when it go in there, you lock the bottom, then the top will light up too, to let you know somebody's in there.
Good.
And it's really nice. And also at night, like I go home at night, it's a big box truck be parked right at the gate of the park with one of the gates at the park further down. And you cannot see, beyond straight walking, driving, coming in the house straight down the road. That box truck should be parked in their yard at night, not in front of the gate that go at the park entrance. And also the freebie ride, it's on the picture up, they say from 4 to 11 p.m. And it only go from the Boca Deerfield line until St. Ambrose, come that way to St. Ambrose. And people would like to go to like Target or somewhere or to the dollar store. And it's not really beneficial to elderly people, 4 to 11 p.m. But I guess anything that's free is good. And
Thank you, Ms.
okay, thank you.
Now, everyone interrupt her when she's talking, okay?
Bill, don't mess with me.
Yeah.
So
Name and address
I
for
will,
the record, please.
Maureen Kenny,
Thank you, Marie.
corner of 7th Avenue and 7th Street. Another mess. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to me. And I'm speaking sort of for Peggy because she has lost it and she's in Michigan, so she can't come here. I'm supposed to be in Chicago, but I'm here because this is very, very serious. So I'm not going to talk to you, Bill, because you're a little sarcastic. I'll talk to the vice mayor. So
Ms. Kinney, we're gonna keep this real quick and short, all right? Address the commission, keep it simple, and get to your point.
I'm getting to the point about my trees.
Thank you.
You all know that I did the major tree project by myself, a beautification job that I did 20-some years ago. We paid for the trees. We provided the care for the trees all these years. This is why I'm getting a phone call every day. Why are they taking our trees? We don't know, Bill. We really don't know. We know they told us nothing. I still don't know. They're taking my trees. I called your arborist, your landscape guy that takes your trees in the city, and I just forgot his name. And it's going to cost me thousands of dollars to remove my big trees that are on my property. And I already called a permit. I called for a permit. I want my 7 palm trees put back on my property. And I went to the city for that. So this is costing me a lot of money, but I went through too much to have these trees planted through our whole entire neighborhood. Why are they taking all the trees down? Can anybody answer me? They're only taking the foxtails. They're not taking the junk trees. So I also have been told they're being sold. Nobody wants to talk about it. I will talk about it. So not going to tell you, but we have even been told where they're going. I'll leave that to go. But I want to know why I have to pay someone to plant my trees, my own trees. Those are questions that I don't know if any of you can answer, but I had to pull a permit for when my trees are going to be removed and I have to pay to have them put on the other side of the sidewalk. All you have to do is go over there. Any one of you, just go over and see what we're all going through.
Thank you.
Hi, Ann Hines Shapiro. I'm at 607 Southeast 7th Avenue. This whole stormwater drainage system, while I applaud the fact that we're trying to address climate change and, what's going on, we did not on 7th Avenue have a horrible drainage problem, which I believe that by just putting in those big drains, anything we did have is going to be okay. But to take a couple of blocks and take out all those trees so that our houses don't look nice anymore. And it's like, if the trees are such a problem, then why is it only 2 blocks that the trees are a problem? And again, why is my sea grape not going to go? Why is somebody's coconut palm not going to be taken out? It's very fishy that these trees are going. I mean, what are we to think? And then the other thing is that the contractor does not pick up their trash. I've been trying to sell my mother, who passed away this past year, her condo, which is at North Gardens, which is on 7th Street and right by 7th Avenue. That was used as a staging area for all of those huge the pipes. And they all had metal pieces that went around those pipes, right? Well, those pipes were falling into the sidewalk, everything else. Well, anyway, they finally moved those pipes. They didn't do anything to clean up the swale. They left all of the trash there. Last night, my husband and I were going and picking up the trash. And just as another thing, that seems to be, I've lived in this city for over 25 years. Maureen, I have to say it was wonderful when she came and asked us to plant those trees, and what a difference it made. I believe that my property values are definitely going to go down. I'd like to put my house up for sale. I don't dare do it. I'm getting cracks in my house from that contractor. I realize we have to do some work, but I don't think you have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, which is what has happened. And just also about the trash, it just seems to be Deerfield Beach. It's like I can't walk anywhere without seeing trash everywhere. It's like, why is it all of a sudden there's trash everywhere? You walk, from Sullivan Park to the beach. I saw some old woman out there with her a knee brace on, and she's picking up the trash. Why is this? What has happened to this city that we just have turned it into a garbage pit? I really hope that you can find some money in that budget to hire somebody to clean it up, because it's really embarrassing and it's depressing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, hello. Dave Evanowski, 514 Southeast 7th Avenue. I'm on the corner of 5th Court and 7th Avenue. It's a short block between 6th Ave and 7th Avenue. It's right next to Stella's home. Well, they've used that area since April as a staging area. So you'll see, tons and tons of gravel being dropped there. The dirt that they dig out is staged there. I had 7 pieces of heavy equipment sitting in front of my house over the weekend. So I think all the activity is in this short block that, 6th Avenue was completely finished, where the school is, middle school, all the way down in record time because school was going to open. But they've used this area, and it needs to move along. They're working in other areas. It needs to move down the street. And a lot of the trash, it's from the workers. They're having siesta under my trees, which is fine, just pick it up, clean it up. And it does get done. But as the other residents were saying, there is tripping hazards. There's poor lighting. Get some flashing lights, get some cones up there. Again, this is a trip and fall hazard, and the city could be held liable. I had one neighbor that had, within the last few years, had someone trip on the sidewalk in front of his house, and he was sued because he was responsible to maintain the sidewalk, not the city of Deerfield, but him. He went through a lawsuit. His homeowner's insurance had to pay for that. So I can give you the name, but he's my next door neighbor. And that sort of thing happens. So we need to take our due diligence, the city attorney and everyone else, to make sure. I know the contractor certainly has signed waivers and all that, but somebody could get hurt badly. All right, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Hey there, everyone. Michael Estrada, 1431 Southwest 6th Way.
So I've heard mentioned a few times at this meeting and others about this public safety master plan. And I know there's talk of there being public input on that later down the line, but just one thing really wanting to make sure that we continue to kind of keep at the forefront is just the thoughts around what the city is going to look and feel like in the next 20 plus years. Obviously, I don't believe any of the folks that are on up here are going to still be at the city in 20 years on board, but a lot of the work that you're doing now is going to impact that. So really want to say thank you for thinking ahead as far as some of the things like drainage. Obviously, we've heard issues around how it's maybe being implemented. So really just keeping those thoughts, how are we going to make sure that this is a livable city over the next 20 years? Second thing I just wanted to say, please including the direct links to the agendas for these meetings in a little more accessible. I made mention of this at a couple meetings, spoke to some folks on the Facebook page, and they said, yes, moving forward, we'll continue to post those links. It hasn't happened. Right now, you have to go through the Owly link, go to the city page, from there, click through to the agenda. The Owly link was actually broken for tonight's meeting on the latest post, so it could just be a little tricky to navigate and find the things like the budgets, et cetera, et cetera. So please just try to make those a little more accessible for folks. I would say that I know I've heard some comments about freebie as well. And again, in the past, when I've made comments and suggestions, it's been heard. So I just wonder if there is going to be a process where we can provide input on that project specifically. I think we're about halfway through, and there's a lot of, good opportunity to continue to improve the program. So I would love to know how we can start giving that feedback and maybe have that implemented before the project ends. Last thing, I know the Arboretum is having their 30th anniversary in 2025. I will keep mentioning it. As Vice Mayor said, that should be one of the gems of our city. And I think there's some really big opportunities to support that with programming and otherwise. And then last shout out, I know the composting program, the pilot program is coming to an end soon. I've been a part of that in my household. It's been fantastic. We would be happy to pay per household for that to continue. It's just been really great for us to reduce our trash waste. I've seen just the amount of trash and recyclables and things that I'm bringing is dropping. So I've really appreciated the compost program. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone online? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Lucia Del Genio at 707 North Shore. Just to add to the dilemma with the detours near the middle school, I've been doing some deliveries there to the school, and it's really sloppy the way they don't signage. The signage for the detour doesn't work. They're laying down, they're pointing the wrong direction. So if you really go by those signs, you're gonna be going in a maze. So somebody really has to look at the signs and to guide the traffic, people that don't know the area. I happen to know a little bit there, but some people are lost, going in and out and totally lost. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Online? No? Yes. No, sorry.
That's all right.
No, you can't again.
Can't do that?
No, sorry. But if someone wants to, we'll deal with you in one moment. I might be able to help you out. Let's see.
Good evening. Janice Fulmore Digner, 1090 Southwest 4th Terrace, Deerfield Beach, Florida. It's annoying, it's aggravating, it's a nuisance, and it's ugly in the city where we're having all of these commercial vehicles, buses, work trucks, box trucks, like my sister said. I don't think they need to be parked in anybody's yard. I would hope that maybe the city has some parcel that they can build, open up and make it a, what do you call it? A place where people can park their the business vehicles, and there's a charge to them. So maybe there needs to be like not a warehouse area, but like a warehouse station, but a place where they can park their trucks. They need to be out of a residential areas. Right down our street, there's buses on each side of the roads. Some have tags, some don't have tags. And they park in churchyards, they park in hotels, they park everywhere. And nobody, code enforcement, just, I guess, eyes closed, or they just don't care to come by and see it. But it's all over Deerfield. And people have small businesses, and they park their cars in their yards, and we know they're not supposed to be there. So then they're fined. So I think that a moneymaker for the city would be find a parcel and make it a station for business trucks, business owners to park, and charge them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank God.
Okay, I'm gonna close it to the public. Oh, yes, ma'am, come on up. If I could ask you to do one favor before you speak, could you help that gentleman out and maybe ask one thing he wanted to say? And if you've got, okay, good. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I need your name and
Beth
address.
Kelly, 513 Southeast 7th Avenue. I'm on the corner of 7th Avenue and 5th Court, where the staging area is. And I would just like to invite any of you to come sit on my front porch and look at what I've been looking at since May. It's very educational and it's a mess. And I fear for kids climbing on the equipment. There's holes in the streets. I'm afraid someone's going to try and cross the street and really hurt themselves. So, basically I'm concerned for safety, but pull up a rocking chair. I'm on the yellow house on the corner. So if you want to come visit me, I invited Commissioner Hudak, but he turned me down, I guess. I never heard from him.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey. Anyone else? I'm gonna close it to the public then. Okay. Let's get a couple things out of the way. Let me see. As far as the charter review committee, I think that's still moving forward. Is that what I understand, city attorney?
Yeah, I anticipate bringing something before you at the next meeting.
Yeah, I think we're trying to work out some things and I agree, being homesteaded is an odd requirement because it does eliminate a lot of people, including myself. So it would be interesting. We have an S curve and apparently we have an S hole. I think that's what was pointed out tonight. And I'm going to tell you right now, couple of weeks ago, I left one of our meetings here at night and I said, all right, let me drive down that path. And I got closer to it and I said, I don't know how this is going to end. This is going to be a hell of a headline. Mayor drowns in own mud puddle in city because I have no idea where I'm going. You couldn't see where you're going. The road in the mud blended into this mush where I could not tell if I was driving into a sinkhole or where I was going. And thank God the gate to the middle school was open to be able to turn in there so I can figure out a way on how to get out of there. That was after I'd already gone halfway in to, I don't know where I was at. I thought it was like West Beirut, but it looked a lot like that. And I'm not even kidding because it pissed me off. It was dangerous, absolutely dangerous. I talked to the city manager about it. I said, this is a nightmare. And that was at night. That was, I don't know, 10 and 11 o'clock at night, trying to cross town just to see what it was like over there at night. I couldn't figure it out. So this weekend I went by there and I didn't sit on your yellow chair in your yard because I figured you might be upset, but I might do that. I drove by it and I said, all right, let me just follow the directional signs and see where this takes me. I know where I'm going. I know the neighborhood. I said, well, this is interesting. I'm going to follow the first sign I see that takes me, which I know is a dead end, but I'm going to follow it just to see how this goes. And surprising to me, it was still a dead end. Okay, that doesn't help. I turn around and go the other way. Can't go the next street. Got to go the next street. And I'm like, I know my way around here. Anybody else, if you follow the directional signs, you'd still be driving around over there. This is the worst project I have ever seen in the city of Deerfield Beach. No. That's not something we should applaud. It's not something we should applaud. It is something we should be really upset about. I've already talked to the city manager about this, but I'm going to tell it publicly right now just to make my point clear in case staff member doesn't get this. Whoever's in charge of this project, you need to reassess what you're doing on this because I'm not kidding. This is the worst project I've ever seen. From staging to maintenance to directional signs to communication to everything we're doing, this is the absolute worst. Now here we are back talking about trees that we already put behind us. All right, that discussion's already happened. We knew trees had to get taken out. We build a consensus to move forward, and then you guys have to get us in a backtrack position because the residents are now upset and we're losing all the ground that we made as far as understanding why the trees got to be removed. And then it becomes street angry at another street because they have a major flooding problem when we should all just be working together on this. This is a terrible project that's as far as its execution. There is no excuse for this at all. And we've got David leaving and we've got Horace coming as our interim. I'm going to tell you right now, this had better fix itself quickly because they're angry. I'm angry. This is a liability. Absolutely. It's a liability. Disaster, complete disaster. And I don't care if the contractor is the one that's on the hook. I don't care about the money right now. I don't want people getting hurt. This is talk about safety. It rains. I don't know if I'm driving into a lake or where the hell I'm going. And the fact that I talked to Mr. Koyman and said, all right, you're right. Let's have another meeting. Let's rally. Let's find out what's going on. And here we are. I don't know. Maybe it's only been 3 days, 3 business days. But I'm sorry. That should have been a priority. If you drove it and you went over there, you would know it has. And I know the city manager has done that. He's seen it. So he knows. But this has to change, and I want all of us to be on board with this, that this has to change immediately. We need to have a meeting. You need to get out there and clean this up, hold the contractor liable. If you're opening up the middle school over there for traffic to get around, which I'm not even sure that was what the intent was because there was no sign. I just happen to know that if I don't go that way, I might end up in a hole somewhere. But that means that middle school park over there is being left open at night, late at night. That's not good. If that's the plan, that's the staging area, a parking lot, not people's front yards. That shouldn't be happening. This is terrible, and it has to fix it. It has to be fixed as far as I'm concerned. This is unacceptable. So every point that was made here tonight regarding all that, 100% on board with. Understand, and I apologize. Now, I would like to know, I believe, and I could be wrong, that the tree selection was about that we basically said, don't remove all the trees. Try to save some whenever you can. But it is weird when it's only foxtails. I don't necessarily believe they're being sold on the black market foxtails. But hold on. Yeah, I've heard that rumor mill from the same sources at times, and it's a bunch of usually ends nowhere. But I'll tell you right now, if it's only foxtails being removed and they're disappearing, I would kind of like to know what's happening to them. Okay, I would like to know. I would like to know what the selection process is. I don't know how you keep coconut palms, and not foxtails, but I'm sure there's an explanation. But I think we deserve to hear it. So please answer those questions. If you don't have the answers tonight, please have them to us as soon as possible because this just isn't right. As far as box trucks and commercial vehicles, the city manager and staff, our code is like certain areas I know don't allow them. Those are a lot of areas that have HOAs and there are places that do allow them because I know that's a lot of residents. There's a reason they don't live in HOAs because they don't want one. They want to be able to have those things. What are our rules and where does it apply as far as commercial vehicles?
Rodney Brimlow, Director of Public Safety. Mayor, the majority of the city does not allow the commercial vehicle parking overnight. And that's the key, is if it's overnight parking. So if something is parked overnight in any area of the city, law enforcement should be citing those vehicles. If they're not seeing it, or somebody sees somebody that's new, or there's something that is repeated offenders, please call, let BSO know, and they'll go out and cite them.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Strada, your point regarding the direct links to the agenda, staff, I hope we can get that fixed as soon as possible to do that. And I want to say that your point a couple meetings ago about a laser pointer during our presentations, we tried it. The red laser does not show up on the screen. It shows up on my forehead, which I hope is coming from that and not something else. But it doesn't appear on the screen when we try to do it. So I don't want you to think that we ignored you on that. And it's great. That feedback on the composting is really very valuable. And thank you. And I believe Freebie, Ms. Moore, we had over 1,000 riders last month. Is that correct? That's huge. That's awesome. Thank you. And a CRA meeting is where that really, the freebie stuff is really discussed. So if you ever want to come to one of our CRA meetings, it's the same people, just different titles, to show up for that. I think that covers everything. But for you residents over there dealing with this, I apologize. It shouldn't be that way. And I really do sincerely apologize that we failed you guys on this one. So from me, just as the mayor, I want to apologize to you guys. So I'm very sorry about that. And we're going to see if we can do better on it. Okay. Commissioner Preston, then Vice Mayor Drosky.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to let you know, Mayor, you don't stand alone in this. And the thing, other point to be made here is that the residents of District 1 in that area where this is taking place, you don't stand alone. We stand with you. We understand the difficulty. Mr. Goldman said that none of us had gone over, that we found that the mayor had gone over, but so did I. And that was to a city event I went over, and trying to get out of there was ridiculous. My pride got in the way because I said, I've been here umpteen million years. I know the way I hear it. Regardless of this, I was turning down streets and I couldn't believe that I was running into dead ends. And I got humble enough to put it into my GPS. How to get out of that area and get home. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Now we have to talk about, what do you do though? It's not enough to identify the problem. With every problem, there comes a solution. The question is, what is the solution? That's something that has to be talked about. We're talking about staging. There should be multiple staging areas where it allows flexibility for the residents to be able to manipulate that area. There is no reason, and I saw this myself, of cars blocked in. A lot of the cars were right on the side of the street, and it's a nightmare. And you're 100% right, ma'am. There is no way you should be going through that. But the thing is, it's unacceptable the way that it is, and it needs to change. So staff, there has to be a plan. It's not enough to identify this problem. And the mayor is 100% correct in holding the developer, responsible. And hey, if we as a city staff can help them, then we are obligated to do that, to make it easier for our residents, because there's no way they should be going through it. Absolutely no way. I couldn't get out of there for the longest time. So hopefully what can happen is that they will actually maybe look at multiple staging areas and how to lessen the congestion in that area. Our residents is crying out for relief, and it becomes our responsibility to hear them. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Drosky.
I'm going to pour on as well. First of all, thank you to the residents for coming out. Some of you I spoke to on Saturday regarding this problem, some here, some not here. And I said to myself, there's no way, this can't be the way that they're saying it. I mean, we all know this area. I can find my way through it. I could probably find my way blindfold to that area. We've all lived through the city. So I'm like, this can't be right. So on Sunday, I had a meeting on Sunday, and I'm like, I'm going to take the long way home. And just like the mayor and just like Commissioner Preston, I got lost. I mean, you follow the signs and you go to a dead end street. I'm like, it was challenging to get out of your neighborhood that I should be able to get out of very easily and to go down the street. So the residents are not incorrect. I saw it with my own eyes. I'm supporting what the mayor and Commissioner Preston said, because I thought to myself, this can't be right. But when you drive it and you go see it with your eyes, they're 100% right.
Thank you. Yes. Commissioner Hudak, go right ahead.
Thank you. I want to thank you all. I walk there every night with my dog to see any kind of progress. I'm speaking with the city manager almost on a daily basis, trying to get this situation corrected. So I want to thank all of you for your support. I too want to apologize to the residents. I've been speaking with numerous of them over the last week. I'm sorry that I'm not there today. I'm actually abroad. because I did want to be there. But thank you very much for your support. I have been pushing to get this resolved and this process and this project expedited as quickly as we possibly can. But as opposed to even getting it expedited, we have to get it organized. I think the key is there are people that live in this neighborhood, and they have been adversely affected by this project, even worse than the fact, that we knew the project was going to upheave a lot of their daily activities. I will be back in town on the 20th, but hopefully before then, we'll be able to get some resolutions and some answers with regards. I know I've gotten more calls on trees in the last 3 days than I've ever gotten. And I have been assured by the city manager that these trees are not being sold and that he is going to advise me what's happening with these trees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Ready?
We are now at consent portion of tonight's agenda. Items 13 through 22 are currently on consent.
Is there anyone from the public that would care to comment on any items between item 13 or item 20 through 22? Okay, anyone online? Okay. Mr. Hurst, you want to come up and tell us what item you want to speak on? Name and address for the record.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I certainly know how to clear out a room. My name is Dan Hers, 330 Southeast 19th Avenue. The only thing I want to talk about is item number 13. And as the mayor knows very well, I hate to throw anyone under the bus unless they deserve it. And I cannot understand for the life of me why the District 4 Commissioner has had this spot open, if my information is correct, for almost an entire year. So I just have to believe that there's some reason behind this, that this spot could have been open for this length of time. And I would love to hear an explanation, because maybe it's something very simple that makes tremendous logical sense. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience? Okay. I'm going to close it to the public then. Looking for a motion on these.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hudak? Commissioner Parnas?
Yes.
Commissioner Preston?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Drosky?
Yes.
Mayor Gantz?
Yes. Vice Mayor, did you want to comment on that item? Thanks.
Item number 23 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving a one-year agreement with Florida Municipal Insurance Trust to provide property, casualty, and workers' compensation insurance to the city in the total premium amount of $1,713,967, providing for execution, providing for an effective date.
City Manager, any comments regarding this?
No, Mayor, just to say that the city went out to market on on the insurance coverages that Mr. Soroka just discussed, and this is the new premium amount through the Florida Municipal Insurance Trust.
Thank you. Anyone from the public here to comment on this item? No? I'm going to close it to the public.
Motion to approve.
Motion from Commissioner Parnas.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Preston. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hudak? Commissioner Parnas?
Yes.
Commissioner Preston?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Drosky?
Yes.
Mayor Gantz?
Yes.
Item number 24 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving the award of ITBC number 24-24-VP for Northwest 45th Street and Crystal Lake Drive Drainage Improvement Project to Callis Corporation, authorizing the execution of a contract with Callis Corp., the lowest price responsive and responsible bidder, in an amount not to exceed $2,198,460 plus city contingency fund, and providing an effective date.
Is there anyone from the public here to comment on this item? And close it to the public. Commissioner Parnas?
Yeah, I have a question. Is this in relation or have anything to do with the new sidewalks coming in to improve the drainage before they put them in? Perhaps the city manager has some information?
Yes, Commissioner, this project is to do the drainage before the sidewalks and the road. Yes.
Okay, thank you. With that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
You have a motion, from Commissioner Preston, or excuse me, Parnas, second by Commissioner Preston. All, roll call, please.
Commissioner Hudak, Commissioner Parnes,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Drosky,
Yes.
Mayor Gans.
Yes.
Item 25 was deferred to the next meeting. We are now at comments by administration and legal. No comments from legal tonight.
Thank you.
Just quickly, want to just let the commission and the public know that the county has moved the goalpost once again on the Monarch Hill item, originally scheduled to go for
17.
September 17th, where it was a motion to direct the county administrator to place this as a public hearing on October 8th. That has been moved to October 8th, and the actual public hearing date is unknown at this time. So we have found that out today. Want to thank Commissioner Fisher for informing me of that, and Ms. Mary Pride. But we're notifying the public of that, and especially those who have shown interest in transportation.
Excellent news. Thank
You
you.
don't have to go on the 17th.
We're now at comments by mayor and city commission.
Okay, start with District 1. Thank you. And Commissioner, thank you so much for calling in. I know you're across the world and we appreciate it. It's weird. It's 3 o'clock in the morning here too. So at least feels that way.
Very good.
Thank you, Commissioner. District 2.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, there is going to be a meeting on September the 18th. I think this at 6 o'clock. Is that 6 o'clock? Yeah, 6 o'clock over at the Hillsborough Technology Center. Now, what's going to be discussed there is the county is proposing making improvements from I-95 to Dixie. September 18th at the Hillsborough Technology Center, 6 p.m. About the charter review, there was a suggestion that each commissioner have a representative. And initially I thought, that might be a good idea. I don't think it would be a good idea because it becomes too political at that point. We need to look at how people may get involved in that process. I think a charter review is appropriate. It's just how that is implemented. I think that's an initiative should come from the residents themselves. If each commissioner appoints somebody to that review, it becomes at that point, at least in my opinion, a political tool. And so to avoid that, I just wanted to just say that I'm against the commissioners having any involvement in that. If there's going to be a charter review, let the residents get together and let them do it. And the commission should stay out of it. And that's it for me, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. District 3.
I disagree entirely.
Of course.
What do you mean, of course? I disagree on the following grounds. The charter review is nothing more than a discussion of our charter and how to improve it. Nothing happens unless the voters approve that change. So all the discussion in the world is still left up to the voters. And I think that the commissioners by appointing somebody to the review board has the knowledge of the city charter and the information as to what is and what isn't to improve it if it needs improvement. And that, again, will only be decided by the voters. So I feel that the commissioners has nothing to do with politics. I have nothing to do with how Commissioner One might feel about the charter, or 4, or 3, or 2, and I'm 3. It's up for me to discuss it with my constituents and see how they want the city run, and to appoint somebody who has that point of view of the majority of my district. And then again, it's up to the voters. So I think that the commissioners should be able to appoint one member to the charter review. That's all I have.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. It was a busy weekend for events this week, but two of them stood out in my mind in particular. One was the street renaming for Chickarotis. To have that many family members from across the country attend, and it was excruciatingly humid with zero breeze, but it was very moving event to hear all of those individuals basically give testimonials, including the mayor, about Chick and his involvement in our city. So I'm glad that event was able to be put together, and it was very, very moving, actually. I don't know about you, Mayor, but when the helicopter flew overhead as a flyby or whatever, I mean, I kind of, either because it was so low or because it was so emotional, but I literally just kind of felt it, in my veins and bones as it was flying over. It was very, and it was, you could hear a pin drop. It was very emotional, but very celebratory at the same time, and a lot of good words about Chick. He's smiling for sure. And the second one was totally different vein, but no pun intended, is the Community Cares Health Fair. And I'm glad to see that the city had a table there and was part of the community that came out. There was a huge turnout, a great sampling of businesses, in the health industry, not only from Deerfield Beach, but all around. Spoke to some people from Hollywood. They came from all around to come to Zion for that event. And so it was really a good cross section of the city that was there. Miss Gracie's gone, but she was there. She wanted to win that raffle really bad, and she was sitting up front with her tickets. So she's gone now, but I hope she won. But those were really two different events, total opposite ends of the spectrum. It just goes to show you there's a lot going on in Deerfield Beach. So pay attention and get involved. There's a lot of good things going on in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple of things I had high on my list was the 8th Avenue Drainage Project, and I'm glad we were able to do that and at least get that addressed and air that out because it needed to. Vice Mayor, you're right. I thought the event for Deputy Chickarotis, the renaming over there, I'm biased. I knew John well before I was in office, but the people that came out for that and the impact that he made is really tremendous, and it was a great event. Chief, I want to thank you and your staff for honoring John the way you guys did, and I know it meant a lot. It meant a lot to me personally. Community Cares event knocked it out of the park. That was great. What a wonderful gathering of people, and all the different screenings and opportunities for community involvement in different programs. It's really amazing, really well done. I want to thank staff for all their hard work on that. That was really, really great. And the Mayor's Chest Challenge too. I mean, it was a little earlier this year than normal, so it threw us off because normally you had the Grinch in there, but this was it was still a very nice event. I want to thank BSO's cadet program. They do a great job with that, and those kids had a really good time, and it was wonderful to get my butt whipped in chess yet again. So that was great by a couple 8-year-olds. That was always fun. I would like to give some direction to our Education Advisory Board as a priority to give us some advice and some consideration. I'd like staff, I want to task it with the advisory board to give us some ideas, but I want them to get involved and I want us to figure out a way to help. You guys know I hate throwing Deerfield Beach money towards the school board. They take more money out of our residents' pockets and they blow it more than anybody else I know. They do a terrible job with our money. And here we are 20 years later, and we still don't have new playground equipment for the kids at Quiet Waters Elementary School. It is at least 20-year-old equipment that is there. The school board, while increasing their rate for all of us this year, does not have the funding to put in a new playground equipment for those kids over there. So we're looking to give some assistance to some of the parents that are leading the charge over there, and at least giving some direction to some of the nonprofits or other, not just nonprofits, actually for-profit businesses out there who would like to donate to help out those kids at Quiet Waters Elementary School to get the playground that they deserve. Where the school board is failing us yet again, I would like to see if we can get the private sector and the nonprofits to step forward and help us get some funding so they can get something done over there. Other than that, I believe that's all I have. And I want to thank Ocean Rescue again. That is really amazing. So great job. That's it.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.